What's up, Raccoon? And water-cooled and Turk. What's up, Josh? What's up, everybody? What up, Sierra? Where are we again right now? Hey, Andy, what's up? Smeg? Cyber? All right, we got Sky Vector ready. I got Random Flight Generator ready, which is how I am at Springfield, the Missouri variation of Springfield. And of course, we got this open now that BeyondATC has been out for 2 days. I think it came out on Sunday, right? Much sooner than I thought it would come out. I thought it would be a couple weeks, but bam, it's out. Dress up like a Boeing whistleblower. I thought I saw some headline that said like 10 more whistleblowers are coming forward or something. I don't know what's going on. All right, how are my frame rates doing? Not so great right now, actually. All right, there we go. Caching. It's getting a little better. We're in the Vision Jet. I was trying to decide between a Vision Jet and like the Tomahawk, actually, which is a very big difference, but I thought good to have things you're comfortable with and things that will help us, like auto throttle. So I hopped in the Vision Jet. And I thought I'd like take it a little bit slower today for anybody that may have just gotten BeyondATC. Like I know that a lot of people are maybe I don't know of the people that are in the, like watching this channel, how many people are not super comfortable with ATC yet. But I thought it'd be cool for those of us that have BeyondATC to just do the same flights together. And like, you know, when I get my clearance, I can wait. You could see me do the clearance and you can get your own. Then I can taxi, then you can taxi. If there's not a need for that, I'll just go full speed, which is still very slow to be fair. Hey, Ines. Kip started streaming. I'm leaving DCS. Just put it on the side. What's up, Joe? Not so jobless anymore? Wait, what happened? All right, so I'm starting with the Random Flight Generator, Josh's website. I don't think he owns and operates it, but he might have some sort of vested stake in this website, so... Do we really know his involvement with this website? Not really. Rockwolf says, I don't suppose it integrates with the waypoint options. Well, what do you mean waypoint options, Rock? What's up, Delta? Hey, William. Welcome back. Mike says, enjoy your detailed streams. I'm new to BeyondATC. You're a great teacher. Sweet. Well, I hope it helps. I'm no ATC expert. I'm always asking myself questions. But the main recipe for doing it, I think I definitely have that down, so I can at least help with that. Oh, custom waypoints? No. The big, like the main limitation you'll see, at least for now with BeyondATC, is that it's tied completely to whatever you pick in SimBrief. So as far as I know, like basically what SimBrief gives it will dictate your entire route. Obviously your SID and your star, your runways as well, I believe are also dictated by what's chosen by SimBrief. And those are based on like real world weather. So I saw some people commenting on like the Microsoft Flight Simulator forums who are chatting about ATC a lot in there, about BeyondATC. You know, they were saying things like, oh, I tried to, you know, this is crap. I can't even change my departure runway. It's like, well, it's not in yet. Like they have to add each of the possible things you can do and test them. So yeah, stuff like that is not in yet. And other people are running into what I ran into, which is just from user error, really, which is your ATC call sign doesn't match or your registration doesn't match. So you have to set that within SimBrief as well, because that's where BeyondATC is getting all of its information for the flight itself, like the route, who you are, and where you're going. Is it basic or premium? I have mine on premium. So since the early access ended, I'm now on a new account. And so I now have what everybody starts with, which is 50,000 premium characters. So if these run out, I'll either have to beg them to give me some for free, or more than likely, because I tend to like spending my own money on this stuff, so I'm not as much influenced or anything, I will top this off with my own money. Oh, say intentions in the chat. What's up, Brian? Brian put out a really nice video congratulating BeyondATC on their launch. I mean, these are two different products. Like, I am mainly using this again today because people just finally got access to it on Sunday, and I haven't streamed since then. But it's so different than BeyondATC, or than Say Intentions. Like, they're very, very different. Like, for me, I think the air sounds lonely. You know, like, there's no multiplayer, there's no chatter yet. Maybe they'll add chatter. But they're just very different. You can't ask it anything, you know? Like, beyond, you know, Say Intentions has, and BeyondATC will add some of these things, but, you know, has the multiplayer side. It has things like, you can just ask it to change the runway. You can ask it for a weather anywhere in the world, you know? You can ask it a personal question and see how they reply, just to have fun with it. It's just so different. But I think the big thing, I think the big difference for most people right now that just want ATC to get them from point A to point B is obviously the cost. And in most people's cases, like, BeyondATC is going to be their first thing, probably, just because there's a money barrier there. Not everybody wants a subscription, or like to pay, you know, $30 a month or annually for that. But yeah, ATC or BeyondATC is not necessarily canned. Like, I don't think they're caching all the replies like in a database and generating them once so you'll get the same one every single time. I mean, maybe that would probably be smart from a business perspective, but yeah, I mean, like, BeyondATC put out a video explaining their perspective on the differences between the two as well. And their big point was, like, to an extent, it's, you know, on rails, as they call it. Like, there are only certain things you can do with it. But that also leads to very predictable things, and but at the same time, they have to code in support for each thing as they want it, as they want to support it, like changing runway, for example. Whereas something that's using a large language model like Say Intentions is, like a ChatGPT style AI, is it's able to just try to figure it out on its own, which is funny and interesting and great. You know, it's all those things. Oh, and everybody disappeared. Looks like the multiplayer didn't get fixed, unfortunately, because Sim Update 15 didn't come out today. Yeah, they're just totally different programs. Like, I think people should try Say Intentions for the trial as well, because it's just very different. And for people that want VFR right now, Say Intentions is is really the only choice between the two. All right, let's actually go get a route going here. So is there anybody in the chat? I know we just started. There's what, 56 people in here. Is anybody doing ATC for like the first time, or, you know, the first time they're able to talk to ATC? Because, you know, some people have never tried. They've been too intimidated by VATSIM, or didn't want to use or pay for Pilot Edge or IVAO, or use IVAO, which is free too, or, you know. So they've been waiting for something like this as like a way to get into ATC, because they can actually talk to something without the pressure of a human being on the other end. So I don't know how dumbed down to make it, let's say, or like how much to go back to the basics. But yeah, if anybody's brand new, it would be cool to try to guide you guys through like from step 0. But I guess someone might watch the replay. Anyway, you need a SimBrief account. It's free. This is where you choose your route, and BeyondATC imports it. So we're going to do that. I went here to random flight generator, and we found this route, just a random one, less than 200 miles. So it's 185 miles. Springfield to Scott Air Force. Oh, it's an Air Force base. I don't know if we want to do that. I don't know how it's going to handle this. 10,000 foot runways. Yeah, I should pick another one. Let's pick something else that originates from here. So I'll set it as our departure. Regenerate it. Bartlesville. I don't think I've ever been there. So what I like to do is you're going to have a better experience if you find airports that have like full coverage. They have both tower and ground frequency at least, sometimes clearance. And how I find that quickly is generally if the airport has an airport diagram, like you can see if I mouse over the top airport here, it says airport diagram. If you click that, you can look at the frequencies in the corner of the chart and figure out if they have a tower, ground controller, clearance. This one has all 3. But if we look at the other one, there's not even an airport diagram available. So this is probably such a small airport that it's untowered. It doesn't even have a simple airport information diagram like this. So I'm going to find another one. Alton or Alton? Oh, St. Louis Regional. Okay. St. Louis Regional, and they both have airport diagrams. So I can, again, now I can go to St. Louis Regional, click airport diagram, look in the corner and confirm they have tower, ground, and clearance as well. Sometimes they don't have clearance. What's up, Fish? Realist Bradley says haven't picked up BATC, watching to learn prior to getting it. Raccoon, I was gonna fly the 225. Didn't feel like using doing unit convert. Is it only in kilometers per hour or something? Mike says I did the Say Intentions trial. My first experience with the ATC, got BATC to get more comfortable. Done 2 flights. Nice. Yeah. It's just different. I think BATC is it's really good at what it does, and it's also just going to get better. It's just a different thing. I feel like you could start with BATC, and then as you start getting the itch to hear other humans and interact with some other humans, then you can move to Say Intentions, and then eventually, if you really want the super real world stuff, you go to like the IVAOs or VATSIM or Pilot Edges or things like that. Okay, so we also have so we have 3 here. There's some places you won't even have a clearance. You won't have clearance delivery. It says when tower closed, so it's the same frequency anyway. Norm says I'm new ATC. I like the way BeyondATC gives you almost word for word how to answer. Yeah, it's really nice. You can go in here once you get your flight imported with SimBrief. It'll have a list of all the possible things you can say in the bottom left corner, so you can use that as a cheat sheet, which is really nice. All right, so this looks good to me. So KSGF to KALN, and now we'll go over to SimBrief to get our flight plan going. KSGF, KALN, and then you choose your aircraft type in this dropdown. I know I'm in the SF50, but you might have to browse this dropdown. Oh, oops, I didn't show it. You might have to, so we put in our departure frequency up here, our arrival up here. And if you just signed up for SimBrief, you just go to like the main menu and hit new flight to get here. And then if you're using BeyondATC, it's important to put in your call sign that you want to be called down here under ATC call sign or registration. So your registration will be the actual registration number of the aircraft. So even, something like a A320 will have a registration number. But if you want to be called something different than that, like your Delta Airlines or something, this is where you would put in that code, like DAL 559 or whatever. That's where you put in your, that might override it. Sorry, you put that up here at the top left. So here we would put DAL. It might actually transfer it. It does, okay. So up here you could put the airline code, like DAL, for example, or like JBU for JetBlue or whatever it is. So you can just Google what the code for the airliner is if you don't know it, and then the flight number. That puts it as your call sign down here. It looks like you could maybe use either one. I would just use the one at the top. If you're a GA flight, like a non-airliner flight like we are, and you want to put your registration number down here where it says registration. So I always use this, or for a while I've been using 606 3 Echo. Came from On Air Company. What's up, Slide Up? Hey, thanks for being the one viewer on Twitch, dude. Oh, that's a, never mind. That's spam. First time chatter. It's totally spam. I'm pretty sure. Nice streaming, guy. I love this game. Happy face. Yeah, that's the most generic message of all time. I was like, oh, hey, somebody's on Twitch. Cool. It's always spam. Okay. After you put in your registration here, then, and you've picked your aircraft type, if you're doing any specific freight or passengers, you can put them down in optional entries. Otherwise, you're pretty much just good to go. It'll put in a selected route here for us. Oh, this one will be fun because it's giving us... Actually, I don't know if this is on the arrival side. The only reason I know that is because it's got the fix first and then the procedure name. If it was a departure, it would be flipped. You'd have the procedure name with a number and then the fix after it. So this is on the arrival side. So we'll have an arrival here into St. Louis. And if you want different routes, you can actually paste your own route in here if you know what the route might be. Like say we're just going direct to Delma. I could type in my own route and say it's a bunch of other waypoints I know about, or I'm getting it from somewhere like SkyVector or wherever, or a route a friend told me to use. You can put that in here on selected route and then hit analyze route, and that'll double check to make sure it's legit, and then you can move on. But I'm going to go with their suggested route. And if you want more suggested routes, you can see them all on the list below. And then you can just click on it and it'll replace it up here and it'll update the map. So we'll just use the one that it has the default route. It says it's a real world route as well. And then, yeah, the rest of this is optional. You can just skip the rest of it pretty much. And once you're done setting all your options, you just hit generate flight in the top left. It'll generate the flight, and then we can import that into SimBrief or into BeyondATC. So something you might need to do is over on, I don't think it matters if people know my ID. Over on SimBrief, well, I'll just say it without showing it just in case, but over on SimBrief, you need to go to your account settings. And if you look through there, you can find what's called your pilot ID. And your pilot ID will be a 6-digit number. And you put that into BeyondATC right here. When you put those numbers in, that's how it knows to look you up in SimBrief. So then you just hit fly.
BeyondATC connected.
So you can see it's loading all the information about the airport, both the airports. So it's going to get all the frequencies and all that kind of stuff, and which runways to use and what our route is, everything that SimBrief handles. Underdog says, BeyondATC is great to learn all the terminology. Yep. Fish says, I moved flight sim to drive, forgot to reprogram my flight stick. Oh, man. Yeah, that's, I think one of the few times, well, I mean, I skip it most of the time. I skip like the control surfaces check. And the times I've done that, there have been times where I've skipped it from the checklist and said that I was skipping it and then realized that I had unbound something in some way and then forgot. And yeah, the takeoff did not work. Oh, Delta, are you on right now? Yes. First time turning on the sim in almost 3 weeks. Nice. I see Raccoon here. Why is my sim is so laggy? And I think it's because I turned on live. I think it's because I turned on live traffic. So right here, and I think that's just destroying it. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. Traffic off. All right, hopefully it gets a lot better. Do I ever fly the Honda jet? Yeah. I would fly it. I would have flown it tonight if more people had it. Maybe I guess people could fly something like, the CJ4, the Citation, or even an airliner if I'm flying the Honda jet, 'cause it's pretty fast. But yeah, the Honda jet is awesome. It's made by the same developer that made the the Vision Jet here. What, is this new? Were these always in there? Which is, I didn't even update this, did I? This must have gotten added maybe last Thursday or something, and I didn't fly it, hadn't flown it since then. So that's new to me. It must be in here under statics. No, it's not. Does that come out with covers? Oh, okay. Maybe I just don't notice them because I always turn on covers and protectors so fast. All right, and I'm just gonna do this the quick way and just set this ready for takeoff. So it's really easy to start this, but when you're learning ATC, I would say like use all the shortcuts possible in the plane itself. All right, headphones are on and we have noise activation. Or noise suppression is not on. Nice, Turk. Yeah, the Vision Jet is great. The only thing I'm not a fan of in the Vision Jet is that it has a G3000, but I'm getting used to it. I'm just such a G1000 fanboy. Yeah, it has this sweet TV you can pull down, this monitor. Yeah, I don't know why my performance is so bad right now. Check my graphics settings. Pretty much using what I normally use. I might go back to high end. Usually I go to high end and then turn a bunch of things to ultra. And then that's good enough for me. I'm not going to restart though. All right, so if you don't want to talk to ATC, the nice thing is with BeyondATC, you can use the buttons down here that will appear. And you can also hit these checkboxes, auto tune radio, auto respond. And that will, that'll just have the AI, like your co-pilot basically talk for you. Also good if it's like late at night, you don't want to like annoy your family or whatever. And I have it set to premium for now. I'll use these up, and once these are off, then I'll switch back to basic again. I won't really have a choice. And then if you're using it for the first time, make sure you go to settings and set your push to talk button. So all you have to do is click the little box on the left, and then it says to press any button on your keyboard, joystick, controller, whatever you want for push to talk. So you just hit that. Positive it's CPU lag? Probably. Oh yeah, it has motion blur on, which I also don't need. Yeah, I might need to reload in really quickly, actually. This is just, I'm just going to restart the flight. I think it's mainly because I had live traffic turned on. So that was bringing a lot of, it usually just lags it out. Yeah, like it already looks better, I think. Yeah, it's just the built-in live traffic is usually really bad. What's up, Matthew? Matthew says, I had a lot of lag once when you had some windows popped out. Oh, yeah, that definitely adds to it. I do not, but yeah, definitely can contribute. Oh, slide up and Smeg and Matthew. Thanks for following on Twitch, guys. All right, and then if you ever restart BeyondATC, I'm sure they'll add this later, but if you ever need to reload your SimBrief flight plan, you actually have to close out of it completely and then reopen it again. Or if you finish one flight and you need to start another one, you still need to close it and reopen it. And then once it's back open, because we didn't change anything on the SimBrief side, I can just hit fly again. It'll re-import everything. But yeah, make sure you hit the push, set that push to talk button.
ATC connected.
And then another thing you can set, for example, if you don't want auto respond on, or sometimes even if you have it on, you need to actually hit a button or say something like when you're ready for departure or ready for taxi, because auto respond won't know when to say that. So auto respond literally only responds to a request you've already sent in. Or if the controller contacts you, they'll respond to it. But anything initiated by you in terms of communication, you have to do yourself. either through your microphone or by hitting the buttons down here. But if you find that, say you don't want to look at the UI or tab out or click it, or you're using VR or something like that, you can go to the settings and set a key binding to this one right here called Fire Action 1. And whatever you set this shortcut to, if you press it, it will choose the topmost option from this options list here. And that's usually the option you need to choose. So it'll be something like request IFR clearance, ready for taxi, ready for departure, ready for descent, those kind of callouts. Generally, you can just hit that button and it'll send out probably what you're looking for it to send out. Cruz says, how do you get your registration to show up instead of your jet type? Oh, actually, what's interesting is the last time we used this on, was it on Friday? I think it was on Friday's stream. It pulled in Pilatus for the PC-12 when I was flying that. So I think what's happening is they don't have support for every plane type you've picked in SimBrief just yet. So right here, it doesn't say Cirrus. So if I say Cirrus, it might get confused. So I'm going to use my generic call sign here with a November at the beginning of it. So I'm guessing, Cruz, that it's just a matter of time until they put in more and more plane types support for them, because I saw Pilatus in here without doing anything fancy other than choosing the PC-12. So I think they just don't have the Cirrus getting pulled in automatically. So you can just, basically whatever it's showing here is just what you should use, so it doesn't get confused. No, John, you can't put a flight map on that fold down. I don't even know if there are any mods to change what's on that screen. Whoa, look at the lag again, right? Dude, what is going on? I guess I'll turn on frame generation, but the lag is pretty bad right now, or I'll turn on maybe DLSS. Though I don't know if any of that's going to help. Just do frame generation for now. All right, that's a lot smoother. Okay, so now now that we got our SimBrief flight plan submitted. It's up to you if you want to go in here and look at the details. It pretty much comes down to how manual it's going to be. So if you're going to do all the talking yourself, you're going to need to say things like your call sign every time. You're going to need to know the route and be able to read back what they tell you in terms of, like, you know, your routing when you get the clearance. Like, it's going to say something like, actually for this one, we don't have a departure. Yeah, we don't have a departure procedure, but it's when you get your clearance, it's going to say things like your expected altitude, your initial direction you're going to fly, like runway heading or something like that, or they're going to give you vectors, and then it'll give you a departure frequency, it'll give you initial altitude, it'll give you a squawk code. So if you don't want to have to take notes for anything, you can just use the UI, go over here. And actually for the first flight, I will just not write anything down, just to listen and respond to ATC instead of trying to anticipate everything. There will be a point during our approach where we'll need to program in our approach that they tell us we're going to have at the end of the flight, but I'll try to do one where we don't have to take notes on the side. So we're going to use the auto responses whenever we can, just by using the UI and not even saying anything, because that's kind of the beginner level, is just using the UI, not even worrying about talking. And then here and there, you can decide to talk when you want. So I would recommend just using the auto responses first, so you get used to hearing it, learning the patterns of things that are happening, like the recipes for clearance and stuff like that, until you want to give it a chance yourself. And you could always just try it yourself with a microphone, and then if you don't get it, then you go to the UI and you hit the button, and then you just move on with your day. You know, you just hit the button, and you know it's going to be right, and you move on to the next step. The planes, I can't right now, but if you want to fly along today, something like the TBM 930 is really good for today. All right, yeah, let me get Volanta up here, add the flight plan real quick. So yeah, we're going from KSGF to KALN. And it's hard for me not to write anything down, because I'm so used to it. So, like, I don't even need to know the airport names or anything really. The first thing we're going to need to know that'll be important is obviously the runway that we're going to get to. So the runway diagram will be really useful, but you could just zoom your map all the way in to get a rough idea. So maybe I'll try that just to use as minimal, keep it as minimal as possible. Because otherwise we're going to have to be in Navigraph or jump on SkyVector and get charts and all that kind of stuff. What are the other airports? I have no idea. I picked them randomly most of the time, Ninja, so I don't even know where we're going to fly. Okay, so also, if you want to simplify things and not even worry about using your avionics as much, what you can do is tune all the frequencies using BeyondATC as well. So I'm going to hit this button up here that says always on top. And for me, it'll be always on top. For you, I'll have it pinned in the corner like this. And what you can do is hit the little headphone button in the bottom right, and this will show you all of the frequencies available. So we can use this to tune into any of them just by clicking, and we'll hear it right away. So we'll go ahead and start with ATIS to get the weather. Now, normally you would take notes for the ATIS, but again, we're going to skip note taking for this flight. We'll do it on the next one. So I'm just going to click ATIS. We're just going to listen in as like an FYI, just so we can hear it.
Initial contact, you have information India.
Okay, so information India is one of the things you would write down, which is the current weather.
National Airport information India.
And just to cut that off real quick. So if you've never used ATIS before or any kind of automated weather, this is giving you weather information that is typically updated every hour, normally towards the top of the hour, but it'll tell you in the ATIS, the weather report it's giving you and all the airport information it's giving you, it'll tell you when that was generated. It'll say something like 0355 Zulu. And that lets you know when that information became current. And it is also assigned a letter, A through Z. So it'll give you that letter phonetically. So I forget what it said already. Did it say, I forget what it said, November, Tango? We'll listen again to hear it. It'll give you a letter number, and that's the code for the current weather. So when the AI says that we're going to taxi with information Bravo or whatever, it's saying we have the latest Bravo ATIS, the up-to-date weather information. If we said Alpha, they would be like, no, A isn't current anymore. Alpha's not current. Now B, Bravo is current. After Bravo's not current and they update it, it'll be Charlie, and so on all the way through the alphabet, loop back to Alpha when it's done.
Advise on initial contact, you have information India.
Oh, India. So it's on I right now, India. So we'll listen through.
Branson National Airport information India. 2352 Zulu. Wind in 225 at 6, visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 24. 2.10. Altimeter 2962. Landing and departing runway 20. 5G notice in effect. Advise on initial contact. You have information India.
All right, so I'm going to go over here and hit clearance now to switch to clearance. If your airport does not have a clearance frequency, you're going to use ground instead to get your IFR clearance. So remember, we're doing towered airports to tower airports. How long is the flight? Actually, we can see that on SimBrief. This is actually good to know in general. If you look at the top of SimBrief, it'll give you your air time, which means when you've actually taken off and landed, so wheels up to wheels down, and then your block time, which is pretty much chalks on to chalks off, or chalks off to chalks on. So basically when you're in the plane, sitting here cold and dark like we are, it's estimating it'll take us an hour and 14, like gate to gate. And you can also see our, oh, whoops, sorry, that's right here and here. And then you can also see our estimated altitude's 27,000. But again, the ATIS, we're just going to ignore it for now because we're not going to take notes for this one. We're just going to use the UI. So I'm going to go ahead and hit now. We've switched to the clearance controller. If you don't have a clearance controller, you would go and choose the ground controller. But we're going to do clearance because there is one. If there is clearance, you use it. If there's not, you go to ground to get your clearance. So here we're just going to hit request IFR clearance, which is the first button here. And then the AI is going to talk for us. And I'm actually going to tick the box here for auto tune radio and auto respond. So the AI is going to talk for us, and it's automatically going to change our frequencies after this point. So we don't have to think about it. But if you did it manually, once you're ready to change the frequencies yourself, you can turn off auto tune radio and you can click them yourself. And then optionally, when you're ready, you can turn off auto respond, and then you're responsible to click all the responses or use a hotkey for the responses, or eventually talk using your microphone for the responses. But to keep it simple, we're going to turn all the assists on for this flight. Okay, so now that we're on clearance, we're just going to hit request IFR clearance, and the AI is going to do the talking.
November 6063 Echo. Request IFR clearance to St. Louis Airport.
We want clearance to St. Louis. And now they're going to reply.
6063 Echo, Springfield clearance cleared to St. Louis Airport. Radar vectors Delma, then is filed. Maintain 5000, expect flight level 270, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 124.9 Squawk tree 61 tree.
And now it'll reply and just read all that back.
Cleared to St. Louis Airport. Radar vectors Delma, then is filed. Maintain 5000, expect flight level 270, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 124.9 Squawk 3613, November 6063 Echo.
So now it'll say read back correct.
6063 Echo, read back correct. Contact ground 121.9 when ready for start or taxi.
Ground 121.9 when ready.
And so they're
November
giving us the next
6063
frequency, which we
Echo.
can see here. So they're telling us that frequency. And now it's automatically changed that frequency, and we can see it's changed down here. So if you want to change manually eventually, mattering what plane you're in, you're going to have to find your nav and comm controls and put in those frequencies yourself. It could be knobs, it could be buttons or touch screens. Just depends on what plane you're in. But basically, they gave us our initial altitude. So the one thing you need to listen to from that exchange was the initial altitude. So it said 5,000. It said maintain 5,000 feet. And then it also said expect flight level 270. So eventually that. So of all of that, 5,000 feet is the most important thing. The second most important thing is our transponder code, which does not get put in our plane automatically. So the first thing we'll do is we'll do the altitude. So because I'm using autopilot, I'm just gonna turn my altitude up to 5,000. So once I'm set up to take off, I know we're gonna stop at 5,000 because that's what they told us. That's as high as we're allowed to go for now. And then at the end of the clearance, they said a squawk code, squawk 3613. That means to put that code in our transponder. And this is going to matter on your plane. If it's on a G1000, there'll be a transponder XPDR button at the bottom of the screen. You'll have a little soft button for. You may have an old school transponder that literally will have all of the buttons right there, like 0 through, is it 8, 7, 8? 0 through, is it all numbers? Actually, I don't know. I think it might be all 10 numbers. Or in this case, if you have a G3000, we have to go into this transponder 1200. If you look for 1200, that's the number you want to change. If you're in the US, 1200 is the default squawk code that's set for VFR use, but we're IFR, and they give us a squawk code. So anyway, we'll put in that code 3613. Now, if you forgot any of that, you don't have to worry. All you have to do is go back to the main screen. And while it's doing all this for you, it's essentially taking notes for you. So you have this cheat sheet with all these big boxes. You can see the full transcript, but the very important information will be in these colorful boxes here. So altitude 5,000 and then squawk 3613. The rest of this will actually be handled by our, or at least departure frequency and ground frequency. That'll be handled by the AI because we're letting our co-pilot do that. Radar vectors to Delma means that once we take off, we're just going to expect to not make a turn. We're going to just be heading runway heading until they provide us headings to give us, or vectors to turn us towards our first waypoint called Delma. So basically we're just going to fly runway heading until they give us permission to turn. They'll say like turn right heading such and such. All right, so we have 5,000 feet in. I have the squawk code in. So I put in 3613, which is what it says in BeyondATC, and I'm going to hit enter. And then in this plane, like in general, you should make sure it's on altitude reporting mode. So somewhere it'll say ALT, and you hit that. In the G3000, it's under this section where it says, it said auto, and we're changing that to altitude reporting just to make sure it's on. That's so they can see what our altitude is. Ninja says, would you happen to know departing runway? We're about to find out. But it should be the same as what's in SimBrief. So if you look at SimBrief, if you've done the flight plan and you scroll down to the route section, this route section shows the departure airport and the runway. And then on the far side, it shows the arrival airport and the expected runway. So I'll go ahead and post that in the chat. All right, so that's the route that's in the chat that SimBrief gave us. All right, so keeping in mind that we're going to have a cheat sheet in the bottom right corner, all we have to do is make sure that we're just following it. So radar vectors to Delma. So what I'm going to do is put in our flight plan, which I haven't imported yet. Thankfully, I can import it with SimBrief here, so it'll be fast. So all I have to do is request it and then hit import. Okay, and we can see here that they said radar vectors to Delma. Now, if he said like direct Delma, then we could go directly to Delma. But we're not going to use our navigation mode until he allows us to resume our own navigation, or until he gives us like an instruction that takes us directly to a waypoint. But what he said is he's giving us radar vectors. So they're going to tell us exactly what heading they want us to fly. That's going to always override whatever is in our flight plan. ATC instructions trump everything as long as we accept them. You know, in reality, there could be like, if they try to fly you, you know, somewhere you don't want to go, or you can't go, or it's dangerous or whatever, like you would push back. But yeah, for the case of BeyondATC, we just do what they say. So we have Delma, and then after Delma, we have an arrival procedure, which is the Delma 4. Now, I'm not going to go through and look this up. This might be a bad idea because we have an arrival. Generally, we should look this up and figure out like which altitude restrictions we have. I'm not sure that there are any here. Try to just get a flight done with as few steps as possible. Yeah, I don't see any altitudes put in here at all, so we'll see if they tell us to descend via the star or not, which is the arrival, but hopefully they just give us descent instructions. And then we don't know the runway yet, so we're going to go ahead and talk to ground. It says to talk to ground and when we're ready, and it already switched us over to ground. So now we're going to go through the next thing. Now, if you want to talk, the cheat sheet is in the bottom left. So you have the notes that are being taken automatically for you in these big boxes. The list of possible things you can say are in the bottom left. So if you want to use your mic already, these are things you can say. You could say the name of the frequency you're on. So in this case, you look down here in this box, it says Springfield ground. So you would say Springfield ground, then you'd say your call sign over here. In my case, November 6063 Echo, and then you'd say your request. You could say request push and start. In our case, we're not an airliner, so we don't need push and start or startup. We just need taxi. So you would say Springfield ground, November 6063 Echo, request taxi to runway. And then it would basically do the same thing as clicking this button. So you can use this formula. You say the frequency, who you're talking to, then who you are, and then what you want. So you can follow this pattern from the bottom to the right and then to the left. But in our case, again, we're just going to click and let the AI do it. So we'll say request taxi to runway, assuming that you have the plane set up ready to taxi.
Echo. Request taxi to the active.
November 6063 Echo, runway 20 taxi via Delta.
Runway 20 taxi via Delta. November 6063 Echo.
All right, now runway 20 via Delta. There's a few ways you could figure out Delta, like, so if we don't want to use any charts or anything, we would drive around and look for the taxiway signs. Problem is a lot of them aren't necessarily going to be accurate, but that's how you would do it if you had no charts and you didn't want to use any charts. Another thing you could do is kind of just ignore the ATC. It's, you know, even if it makes mistakes and like you cross a runway you're not supposed to, it's no big deal, like just for your first flight. So what I'm going to do though is just point out where runway 20 is. So here I'm just going to hit select runway 20. And what that does is it puts the starter marker for our course here on the runway threshold. So I know that the runway is to the right. So I know that I can turn right, go this direction, and start at the threshold of runway 20. Since we know like 20 is a little bit to the west of south, that would also match up, right? Like this runway will be going that direction. So I'd go the opposite direction of 20 to get to runway 20 threshold. Delta says, anybody hear Kip's tutorial video voice cadence? Sorry. This is supposed to be a live stream. Yeah, it's feeling tutorial-ish. I'm too lazy to record a whole video, okay? Just let me do it on the live stream. Anyway, runway 20 is over here to the north. So you can set this in different, mattering your different avionics. So mattering your avionics, you may or may not be able to set the runway. If you're on like a 530 or a 430, you won't be able to. But most other avionics, like the G1000, you can set the departure runway and the arrival runway, and it'll move that first point onto the threshold for you. Another thing you could do, I guess, is zoom all the way in to the field and then pan the map around, or even hit V on your keyboard, I think we'll see the runway numbers here. So if you zoom all the way in and move your mouse around, yeah, I can see a little tiny 20 on the actual image there. Or here you can see 2 or 32. So this would be like the easiest way to just see where the runway starts. And then you can look to see where your plane is. Unfortunately, yours is white like the rest of them, but if you can figure out which one you are, it's the one that's bigger than the rest, then you'll know which way to go. So that's another way you could do it. All right, great stuff. We learn in live tutorial. All right, so yeah, we're just gonna taxi the north. Now, whether we're gonna be on runway Delta or not, like in this case, this is a very simple instruction. It's just taking one taxiway. And it also matters, the data, like BeyondATC is very much at the mercy of the data that's available in the simulator. So it's possible it's not gonna give you the right taxiways, but getting to the threshold is the important part for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the outside lights on, AKA the sun, so we can see better where we're going. All right, and then we'll just taxi however we want. Who cares? We're using AI. We can go on the grass if we want. Let's just taxi to go to the north to get to runway 20. And once we're there, we're gonna hold short of the runway, and then we'll talk to ATC again. So in my opinion, you shouldn't try to do everything 100% realistically the first time, right? Just do the absolute minimum, get comfortable with hitting the buttons. You don't even have to talk yet. You can let the AI do all the responses. You can take the wrong taxiways. You can take off and fly the wrong altitude because they'll correct you and it'll tell you. And this is why it's something like, you know, AI ATC, BeyondATC, Say Intentions is so good. You can do everything wrong and it doesn't matter. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you're repeating everything so many times, so often, that you're going to be hyped up and want to do VATSIM or IVAO or something like that. Watercooled says, if people have Navigraph, when you zoom in, it has the taxiways marked. Yeah, that's true. If you have Navigraph and you don't want to pull up the charts themselves and you're just on the moving map, if you zoom in close enough, it'll bring in a preview of that airport. So it's like a, it's like its own variation of the taxiway chart.
November 6063 Echo, contact Springfield Tower 119.9.
Since we're getting close to the threshold, the tower controller notices, or the ground controller notices, passes us over to tower.
November 6063 Echo.
So here's what you get if you zoom in far enough with Navigraph. So you'll see the taxiway numbers. It'll even show like hotspots. It'll show gate numbers and parking numbers and things like that. But yeah, if you happen to be using Navigraph, you have an advantage over somebody that doesn't, but I'll use Navigraph for the second flight. All right, so they passed us over. They said to switch over to the departure frequency. We're not quite at the threshold yet, but you may notice that the options change down here. Our next option is request departure. So we're meant to go to the threshold and get ready for takeoff and then tell them that we're ready for departure. So if you have like a before takeoff checklist, that would be a good time to do it. Like on your way to the threshold or right here at the threshold. The main thing though to make sure you have set up is autopilot if you're going to use it. Generally in IFR, especially flying something fast like this, you're going to be using autopilot. So the two things we need to set up are runway heading. We already have our altitude set up, but I'm going to go ahead and set up the runway heading. We know that we came to runway 20, so I'm just going to set the runway heading for our heading bug to 200. Just put a 0 on the end of the runway number. If it's 01, runway 1 or runway 5, it'd be 010, 050. Just put another 0 on the end. Watercooled says runway heading is 199. So again, if you have Navigraph, you could, and you bring up the charts, we'll do it on the next flight. You could put in the exact runway heading, but we'll just do it when we turn on to the runway. The other thing is I did not set our altimeter settings, so I'm just going to hit B like Bravo on the keyboard to set it. This is something else we got from the ATIS earlier. If you scroll all the way back to where we got the weather information. Oh, actually, it doesn't show the ATIS, does it? Looks like it doesn't show the ATIS, otherwise we would have done that. But yeah, you can just hit B on your keyboard, like Bravo, to set that, or you could set it to the known elevation of the airport. Okay, and then next I need to set up flight level change mode and heading mode button. So we have heading, flight level change, and then we have the heading dialed in. So now I'm ready. I'm just going to hit request departure down here on our options. Let
November
the AI do the talking,
6063 Echo.
and we'll just listen to what they
Holding
say.
short runway 20.
November 6063 Echo, Springfield Tower, wind 225 at 6. Fly runway heading, runway 20, cleared for
Fly
takeoff.
runway heading, clear for takeoff.
Fly runway heading, runway 20, cleared for takeoff, November 6063 Echo.
So this is what we expected because they told us that they're going to give us vectors to our first waypoint. So until they give us those vectors or headings, we're going to basically they're going to tell us to fly runway heading in general if the expectation is to fly, that they're going to give us vectors or headings. So once you line up, if you don't have the perfect runway heading in already, if you're good at lining up, you can then sync it to whatever it says. Mine says like 201, supposedly it's 199. I'll just right click heading bug to set it to 201. And they already said clear for takeoff, so we're just going to take off. And remember, we're going to fly the runway heading, so no turns. Oh, pitch trim was not set, so I'm setting that. So we just keep flying runway heading until they give us a new heading. All right, gear up. And if you want to play by the rules, generally you're not going to turn on your autopilot until you're about 500 feet off the ground. So if you have a radar altimeter and it says 500, but you can pretty much just turn it on whatever you want. I think the official FAA rule is 500 feet AGL. Or is it 400? It's 400 or 500. Yeah, I'll bring the flaps up. And I'm going to go turn on auto throttle because we have auto
November
throttle on this one.
6063 Echo, contact Springfield departure.
All right, now they're passing us off to that departure
Contact
frequency
Springfield
they gave us
departure,
earlier.
November 6063 Echo.
So that's the frequency you had to remember.
Springfield, November
Back from
6063
the
Echo
clearance step.
2600.
And now it's giving them our current
November
altitude.
6063 Echo. Springfield departure. Radar contact. Climb and maintain one tree 13,000. Altimeter 2962.
All right, 2962.
Climb and maintain 1313,000.
13,000.
Altimeter 2962.
So if it comes too fast
November
or whatever, just look
6063
back at
Echo.
the notes. Look at the colored boxes.
November 6063
13,000.
Echo. Turn left heading 065. Expect further clearance in about tree 8 miles.
So I'm changing our altitude to
Turn left heading
13,000.
065. November 6063 Echo.
And just do one thing at a time. So I'm going to bring our altitude up to 13,000. Okay, that's done right there. Now turn left 065. So we're on heading mode already. So all I have to do is turn the heading bug to the left until we get 065. If it's a turn that's more than 180 degrees, just be careful you don't turn it too fast. Otherwise your plane, like if you go past behind you basically, telling it to go further than behind you, like and then the opposite direction behind you, suddenly that's a right turn. It'll stop and level off and turn right. So sometimes if it's a really big turn, you want to slow down and just make sure that you're not bringing this heading bug behind you and back around to the other side over here, because then your plane's going to take the shortest turn to get to that, which would then turn it to the other direction. So just make sure we keep turning it left. Yeah, so remember the cheat sheet, these boxes here, the blue and pink boxes are your friend for cheat sheet. And so I'd already updated our selected altitude, so we have 13,000 in, so we're continuing our climb up to 13,000. And then if you're doing checklists, you would be doing your after takeoff checklist here. But again, if you're not doing that stuff yet, just don't do it. No big deal. I didn't even set my fuel before we took off. Like, do we have enough fuel? I don't know. You can always add it if we really need it. Something that's really nice about SimBrief, if you're new to it, in addition to like the routes they give you and all that, it also estimates your fuel right here in this section called block fuel, how many pounds of fuel you need. So if you're in the weight and balance menu in Flight Sim, at the very bottom here it says fuel, 905 pounds. So I could just raise the fuel until it's 940 or whatever you need. And you could do that in flight, it's not a big deal. All right, so we're still, their last instruction was still turn left 065. Go ahead and zoom my map out so we can see where we're going. And we can see that they're pretty much having us go directly towards this Delma waypoint, just on a heading instead of us flying that exact course. This stuff is going to become more important later whenever BeyondATC adds traffic sequencing and traffic injection. That's one of the big things that they showed during the development of it, and one of the big things that's not available yet because you know, everybody voted and said they wanted it out now. So there's no live traffic yet, but when that comes in, these kind of instructions are going to make a lot more sense when they're, you know, sequencing you around other AI traffic it's injecting, like airliners and stuff like that. But for now, you know, when it makes those changes and stuff, it's not dependent on traffic. So as you get more comfortable with like the different phases and like what you're going to say at those times, that's when you can turn off the auto response or turn off the auto tune radio, or stop using the button presses down here to,
November
to do the
6063
replies.
Echo, contact Kansas City Center 127.5.
So like if I turn off auto reply, I just unchecked auto reply, and if I have the program in the background or even in the corner, this is me needing to remember I have to respond to them. So I'd go down and click acknowledge handoff myself.
Contact Kansas City Center 127.5.
So that would be like the next step.
November
Like maybe you're not ready
Echo.
to talk yet, but you don't want it to do all the auto replies for you. Just turn that feature off. And now it's automatically changed frequency because we still have that on. So now we got to hand off to Kansas City Center, which it says right here. And now we're going to tell them we're on the frequency. So we generally, when you do a call in and you're changing controllers, you're going to tell them who you are, and the primary information, really the most important thing is your altitude or your change in altitude. So we're going to tell them we're at 11,000 something, climbing 13,000. So you'll see it say that right now.
Kansas City Center, November 6063 Echo. Good day out of 1010,700 for 1313,000.
So it's saying we're at this altitude, we're climbing to this altitude.
November 6063 Echo, Kansas City Center. Climb and maintain flight level 270.
All right, 270. So I'm going to go and push the acknowledge instruction, and then I'm going to start
Climb and
changing
maintain flight level
my selected altitude
270,
up
November
to
6063 Echo.
flight level 270. I wonder if we'll get up to flight level 270 this flight. So I have a shortcut for this, but if you don't, just use your altitude selected knob on your autopilot to change it up to 270. Some planes it takes longer than others. This one does not have acceleration as I turn the knob, so it's literally 100 feet at a time.
November 6063 Echo, Kansas City Center. Expect Delma 4, runway tree 5.
All right, so it said expect Delma 4, runway 35. This happens to be the arrival procedure. It's a series of waypoints and altitude and potentially speed restrictions. We're just going to acknowledge that.
Delma 4, runway 35.
It's almost like flying
November
along an airway. If you've
6063
ever
Echo.
flown an en route section along an airway, like I'm on the Victor 211 and exiting at this waypoint. It's kind of like that, but it's at the arrival end, and it usually involves altitude restrictions along the way. But for us, we're just going to make sure that we have that arrival in, and because we imported it in from SimBrief, or you know, if you have to program it in manually, mattering your avionics, you would have had it in already. But we have Delma 4, runway 35, and they're telling us to expect that. So just because the weather can change, I actually don't know if BeyondATC changes it based on the weather changes. So like if the winds change drastically at the arrival airport, they could potentially change our arrival procedure and give us something different. Or the runway, for example. But I think right now it just gives us everything that we submitted and everything it anticipated when we generated the SimBrief flight plan. Now, out of curiosity, I know I just said I didn't want to check the charts or anything, but I'm just curious if this one happens to have any restrictions on altitude, or if ATC is going to assign the altitude the whole time, or what. Generally, when you load these in, especially in like the G1000, the G3000, the G5000, these sections that say feet will have the restrictions. Like at Delma, we should be at 8,000. At Mersin or Mersin maybe? Immersion? At Mersin or Mersin, we should be at 5,000 feet or whatever it is. But we don't see that here, so I'm curious what the actual arrival has. So this is where you'd need to like access charts on somewhere like Navigraph or SkyVector or ChartFox, something like that. But I could just go here and look that up. I'll just import my flight plan real quick. And then when we look up that chart, we'll see.
3 Echo, turn left, heading 035.
All right, we're getting interrupted. Left 035. And look at the cheat sheet if we need to. And we're going to acknowledge that by hitting the button again.
Turn left, heading 035.
I'm going to
November
sync my heading
6063
bug.
Echo.
Sync my heading bug right here by right-clicking it. And we're still in heading mode. And then we're going to turn left 035. So left until we get 035.
November 6063
There it is right
Echo.
there.
Cleared direct Delma. Resume navigation.
So now they're clearing us direct Delma. You can see they're turning us towards that course, broken side of the magenta line. I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that again.
Cleared direct Delma. Resume own navigation.
So now they're saying
November
we're cleared at
6063
direct
Echo.
Delma. So they were bringing us towards our
November
magenta,
6063
our
Echo.
magenta course.
Contact Kansas City Center 133.8. Have a good day.
So I'm just going to hit, whoa, we can see through the plane. I'm just going to hit nav mode here, just so it'll be on course once we get there. Okay, so FMS mode is active. Now we'll reply to them again. You can see how the workload
Contact
can
Kansas
get to
City
be
Center
pretty high. Lots of
133.8.
clicking,
November
changing our heading,
6063
putting on
Echo.
nav mode. If we didn't have auto-tune radio, we would be tuning that ourselves right now too. So turn on, just make sure to turn on all the assists as you need them until you're comfortable. Once you're at the point where you're like, I can handle this, start turning things off one at a time. So we'll announce we're on frequency.
Kansas City
These are
Center,
premium
November
voices.
6063 Echo. Leaving flight level 184 for flight level 270.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn on auto respond now. Turn that back on.
6063 Echo, Kansas City Center, roger.
All right, so if we look at the chart, like this is the information that BeyondATC is using for this route. This is the arrival we have Delma. So you can see it's a series of waypoints. And the only altitude restriction that's here is an expect 13,000. So that means that we expect ATC to assign us this altitude. There are a lot of stars that have, or arrivals they're called. Stars is short for standard terminal arrival route. But a star is an arrival, and some of the times, like a lot of the times, especially on ones at bigger airports, you'll see multiple restrictions like this where it says 13,000. So it'll say like 13, 8, 6. It'll have them at each waypoint. And then you can use something like VNav, which I have in some of my tutorials on how to descend accurately to each of those step downs. Yeah, the idea is that it tells you at this waypoint, here are the rules as far as your altitude goes. And sometimes it'll also have speed rules, especially if you're flying an airliner. But we're still climbing right now.
6063 Echo. Contact Kansas City Center 124.1. Take care.
Contact Kansas City Center 124.1, November 6063 Echo. Have a
And
good
it's going
day.
to change our frequency again. So something you can do to simplify this
Kansas
if you're
City
just
Center,
doing IFR
November
for the first time is
6063 Echo.
to
Leaving flight
not
level
pick a route
207
that
for
has
flight
a
level
departure or arrival
270.
procedure in it.
November 6063 Echo, Kansas City Center, roger.
And the way to know if you're doing that or not is that the arrivals and departures will have 5 letters and a number. So in this case, we only have the arrival here, so Delma 4. So if I see this pattern, at least in the United States, the fixes, all of the GPS fixes will be 5 letters like this, like Delma. When we have a procedure, an arrival or a departure procedure, it'll have a number at the end of it. So this one happens to be called the Delma 4. It could be called like the Sushi 8 or whatever. Any 5-letter word with a number at the end. But the departures and arrival procedures both have numbers. So when you're editing your flight plan and you're choosing a route, if you want to avoid having to do a departure procedure or an arrival procedure, you could look over here inside the recommended routes and choose ones that do not have those in it. Oh, I'm not showing it, am I? Whoops, sorry about that. I wasn't showing it the whole time, my bad. So yeah, what I was saying is here, Delma 4, this is going to be an arrival. So 5 letters and a number is a procedure, an arrival or a departure procedure. In this case, it's an arrival. Here, if I change... I'll change this over to like San Francisco or something to get more routes showing up here. If we look at the suggested routes here. Based.
Quick tutorial. This is how you give Kip money.
Nice tutorial. Thanks, Based. Thanks for the $5. Yeah, so here, these routes, like a lot of the parts of this route are either 3 or 5 letters. 3 letters are generally going to be a VOR. 5 letters is going to be a GPS fix, like an RNAV fix. And then the other ones, you can see here, there's 5 digits with a number after it. This is an arrival procedure because it's at the end of the route. If we had something like that at the beginning of the route, that would be a departure procedure. So if this said the Billy 1 or the Billy 8, that would be a departure procedure. So you can go through the ones that they recommend to you and pick ones that do not have something like Bodega 3 or the Risty 1. And if you can't find any of them, you can hit View All and keep scrolling through this until you find one that doesn't have it. Actually, this one, the Mod 9, this is also another, this is probably, what, is this an RNAV arrival? The Mod 9, this is another arrival with a number at the end of it. I guess I shouldn't say they're all 5 digits. But yeah, you can just try to find a simpler route that just has a few RNAV fixes or a few VORs named between it. Or you could just remove that and then hit Analyze Route. As long as it says it's valid, then you could just go and just remove that as part of your route, the arrival or the departure procedure, so you don't have to deal with them yet. So basically, like, because if we remove those procedures, we're just simplifying what we have to do. Like, we're gonna rely more on ATC to tell us when to descend and what to descend to. Also, if you've never done IFR before with a flight plan like this, then you might be surprised to know that we don't know our approach until ATC assigns us our approach. We can, if there were other people talking on the same frequency, landing at the same airport, we would be able to hear what approaches were being assigned to them. That would be something we get in the future with AI traffic. Or what you can do is look at the weather at the airport, or even best, you can look at the METAR, which is the written weather, or you can listen to the ATIS and get what we heard on the departure way out. So the ATIS for the arrival airport, and they will say something like, landing and departing runway is such and such, or landing on runway this, departing on runway this. So, but worst case scenario, like we're anticipating runway 35 because that was in our flight plan. So we can be pretty confident they're going to give us something on runway 35 for our procedure, our approach procedure. And that's where your ILS or RNAV approach comes in. And we can look at those in advance by going to procedures, going to approach, and then clicking the approach. It matters your avionics, but you'll go to the PROC menu in whichever Garmin avionics are on, if you have Garmin avionics. And then you can see a list of them. So anything with 3.5 is a potential approach for runway 3.5. So all we have for 3.5 is actually this RNAV right here, or a visual approach. If they assign you a visual approach, that means that they're basically they're basically telling you, like, you have to literally have a visual of the airport.
6063 Echo,
but you can still use one of the other approach types to that runway. All right, they're changing this over again.
Kansas City Center 133.8, November 6063 Echo. Have a good day. Kansas City Center, November 6063 Echo. Flight level 273.
November 6063 Echo, Kansas City Center, roger.
All right, and they did the handoffs for us again, so now we're still on with Kansas City Center. Now, something that I keep getting tripped up on, and I did again just now, is that with BeyondATC, I think especially if you don't have an arrival or you don't have an arrival procedure that has step down altitudes all the way down, like we don't, you have to tell them that you're ready for your descent. I keep forgetting this. I'm so used to ATC telling me to start descending. So we'll just go ahead and call ready for descent. So we just do that up here. Just hit ready for descent.
November 6063 Echo. Ready for descent.
So I might be too high already because I've just been
November
blabbering.
6063 Echo, cross Delma at and maintain 17,000 St. Louis Airport landing runway 35.
Oh, standard barrel,
altimeter
thanks.
2956.
Cross Delma at and maintain 17,000 St. Louis Airport landing. Runway 35. Altimeter 2956. November 6063 Echo.
All right, 2956. So they're giving us the altimeter. Yeah, Sean corrected me. I forgot to change to standard barrel when we got above 18,000 feet. They're giving us the altimeter that we'll use for our descent, because as we descend back down out of the flight levels, we'll need the current pressure, the local pressure. So I have that preset in here. Just to keep it simple, I'm just going to put it in right now. Why not? And then we'll start our descent. So they said to descend, and they gave us a restriction here
November 6063 Echo,
of
contact
cross
Kansas City
Delma
Center,
at
133.4.
and maintain 17,000.
Contact Kansas City Center 133.4. November 6063 Echo.
I'm going to go ahead and pull us down to 17,000 because that's what we're supposed to
Kansas
maintain.
City Center, November 6063 Echo. Descending via Delma 4, flight level 272.
All right, 17,000.
6063 Echo, Kansas City Center, roger.
And I'm going to use VNav because this is the way we get down to a waypoint precisely. So I'm going to put in a restriction of 17,000 at 17,000 feet at Delma and hit OK. And once I do that, it's giving me a restriction, or it's giving me a VNav profile, top of descents in 2 minutes. So now I can just hit VNav button down here. And now VNav is armed, the word path here, vertical path. So it's going to start the descent for us, and it's automatically going to get us down to that altitude we put in, 17,000, and we'll cross over Delma at 17,000. If you're not comfortable with using VNav, I also have some videos on that. I don't make that many videos really, but the ones I do are like things that if you don't know how to do it, like VNav, it's all about navigation stuff, so or Garmin stuff especially. If you don't want to use VNav or know how to use it yet, you can just start a descent and go down to what they told you. They said to maintain 17,000, so just go down to 17,000. What they're really telling us is that they want us to be at that altitude before we get to Delma and cross over Delma at that altitude. So if you're higher than that or below that, then they might yell at you. But again, it's just a computer yelling at you, so no big deal. That's also the kind of thing that would be pre-programmed in your arrival procedure. A lot of them will have these altitudes and these restrictions in automatically for you. And not all of them are going to say at an altitude. These two little lines here are saying you can't go above it and you can't go below it. So when that happens, that means it's specifically at 17,000. They might have one that says like at this waypoint be at or above 10,000. So if we do that and we say at or above, this is something you'll see in a chart as well when you look at them. It has a line only on the bottom, so you can't go through the line. So we're at or above 10,000, can't go below because that line there blocks us from going below 10,000. But I'll remove that for now. But these kind of constraints are things you see if you've ever done an approach. Those are on every ILS approach you do. It's got the altitudes leading up for each waypoint, which altitude to be at, what final altitude to be at the final approach fix to capture the vertical guidance if you have it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And what's also pretty cool is that we see a contrail from Veerman because I have the flight effects or SimFX installed. So I actually see multiplayer contrails, which is new. There's so many vision jets. Sorry, I've totally been ignoring you guys back here. What's up? All right, so we're on Kansas City Center. And we're just waiting. We're doing our descent. So since I am using VNav, it got to the top of descent marker and it's descending us. So we'll get down to 17,000 feet precisely when we get to that waypoint Delma. I think for the next one, when we do the next flight, I'm going to find a flight where we'll bring up the charts. We'll talk to them. We'll do all the talking and changing of frequencies ourselves. But we'll pick a route that does not have a SID, which is a departure procedure, or a STAR, which is an arrival procedure, just to simplify it a little more. So we'll just have some GPS fixes to follow. And if you guys are like getting into using ATC with BeyondATC, you don't necessarily need to use Navigraph. Navigraph is very nice, but obviously not everybody can afford it. So if you use SkyVector, like flying in the United States is actually great just because of how the abundance of charts that are available. The FAA publishes all of the charts. So SkyVector it's a real world, like real pilots use SkyVector, but you can use it for the sim. Just don't sign up for an account. Don't file a flight plan and get in trouble with the government. But you can just use it anonymously without making an account. So you can put in, where you're going from and to up here in the little flight planner that's in the top nav here where it says flight plan, very small. And then you can click this little routes button here and choose a recommended route. It'll give you a route. And beyond that, if you point at the airport name up here, you can click on any of these in the drop down to get approach procedures, the stars, the approach documents, like your star documents, your approach charts or plates, whatever you want to call them. These are all available in the United States. So that's one plus of flying in the US is just that all of that information is publicly available because of the FAA. So in this case, like if you wanted to look up, I'm going to go ahead and click the airport name here, and that'll bring me to the airport page for St. Louis Regional. So we get all of our frequencies here. Up here we have the airport diagram. If we click that, if we scroll down, there's this huge section with all these pages. These are all the other documents like minimums, our stars. So here's the star right here, the Delma 4 RNAV. That's the star that we got. So I can click on that, and we can read this document and see where we're going. Like we can see Delma right here. It says vertical navigation, expect 3000. So these are a little different than the Jeppesen charts you get as part of Navigraph. Most people like Jeppesen charts better, but the FAA charts are free to use, and anybody can access them, so it's great. And then if we want to go back, we can look at our RNAV arrival, or our RNAV approach right here. GPS RNAV 35 is right here. This one, the 5th one. So if I click that, this is where we can get the approach plate. So all the information we need to shoot the RNAV approach on runway 35, which is probably what we're going to do. So you don't necessarily need to get Navigraph, but it's very nice. It's definitely a premium feature if you can afford it. But I think right now I would say the best two purchases, especially money wise, you can make, like if you're not able to spend like $30 a month on say intentions, and you just want like a straightforward ATC, like just get BeyondATC for $30 and get Navigraph for like $100 a year or whatever it is. I think you save money if you pay annually. If you want to do IFR stuff like this, it's just the best. Navigraph is great. And then later on, once you get the itch for multiplayer action and you want to have a full AI, like every response is AI generated experience, then you upgrade to say intentions. And then when you want real humans, like on all ends, and maybe you try VATSIM out. We just have so many options now. It's awesome. All right, we're under 18,000 feet. We're still going down to 17, so we're going to level off here soon at 17,000. Oh yeah, little nav map. Yeah, I never got into using little nav map, but everybody raves about it, so I don't have a personal opinion on it. I've mainly used it for editing flight plans.
63 Echo. Descend and maintain 8,000. Altimeter 2956.
Descend and maintain
2956.
8,000,
Descend and
altimeter
maintain 8,000.
2956. November 6063 Echo.
So when they just say to descend and it's not like a restriction, they're just giving you that instruction to descend. The easiest way I do it is just descend based on a vertical speed, and generally you can take your ground speed and multiply it by 5 to get that vertical speed. So in this plane we're going 350 knots, so if I do 350 times 5 I get about 1800. So I'm going to do vertical speed 1800 feet per minute down. And we'll do 18 because I'd rather get to that altitude sooner, just in case I'm a little slower than they expect me to be. If you're using the G1000, you can find the ground speed up here where I found it on the G3000 like this. If you're using something else, let's see, how can we find your ground speed with like a 530, 430? I believe it's on the 430 home screen if you press and hold clear, or in one of the corners of the 530 if you press and hold clear. It should show GS, should show your ground speed. But essentially if you multiply your ground speed by 5, it gives you like a roughly 3-degree flight path angle, like angle of descent. So how you'll actually be going through the air. And we're using an auto throttle in the Vision Jet, which is really nice, so I don't have to worry about slowing us down or anything. And because like the weather looks really good, they're probably just going to give us a visual approach for runway 35. Yeah, 35. So it's up to us what we want to program in. Like I tend to always program in the best approach available. If they give us, like we have an RNAV available, I might as well program in the RNAV. And if they tell us we're cleared for the visual, as long as we maintain visual, actually we can see the runway, we can just shoot this approach anyway. It's just going to be safer to use this one. So I'm just going to choose RNAV GPS 35. And it sounds like they're vectoring us. I'm going to pick one of these initial approach fixes. I'm going to pick one anyway, just in case they give us the RNAV.
November 6063 Echo, contact Kansas City Center 125.5.
It's actually kind of difficult to figure out which one to
Kansas
pick
City Center
without the charts.
125.5. November 6063 Echo. Have a good day. Kansas City Center, November 6063 Echo. Descending via Delma 4, 13,500.
So this one's showing this one's to the southeast.
Echo, Kansas City Center, roger.
We're coming from the
November
southwest.
6063 Echo, contact St. Louis approach 124.2, see you.
Contact St. Louis approach, November 6063 Echo.
Okay, this one, Bilney, looks good because we're coming from the southwest.
St. Louis, November
So this looks good for our
6063
direction
Echo.
of travel, so I'll pick that one.
12,700 with information Golf.
November 6063 Echo, St. Louis approach, altimeter 2956, expect the visual approach, runway 35.
All right, visual approach, runway 35.
Altimeter 2956. Expect the visual approach, runway 35.
2956 on our altimeter, we're still good.
Echo.
So the next thing we're expecting them to give us is just more descents and more vectors. So we'll probably have to change to heading mode. Yeah, they're just giving us the visuals, so they're going to try to line us up with the runway and get us down to the right altitude. And then they'll ask that we have the field in sight. We tell them that we see it. They'll say we're cleared for the visual approach. So you can think of a visual approach like as if you're almost flying VFR. Like basically, my understanding is it's a way for ATC to actually make things faster, because they can just give you the visual approach and they don't have to worry about like telling you to get on a localizer, cross certain fixes. You don't have to cross certain fixes at certain altitudes. There's a lot more instruction that goes with a non-visual approach. So if they can give you a visual approach, that kind of like, they kind of say like, all right, well, my job here is done. Like, I've handed you off. You said you have it in sight. Just continue visually. And then they can pass you off to like the controller and they can talk to other planes. That's my understanding of why visual approaches are popular. And then we don't have to set up as much either, like if we can just fly and land visually. Oh, thanks, Mike.
advised, information hotel now current,
Great
altimeter
detail on all the
2956.
features of that can be aircraft and navigation. I appreciate the time you provide to all of us.
No problem, Mike. Thanks for the $10 super chat, dude. AKA the $10 face reveal. Kind of a face reveal, not really. Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's kind of weird doing like a tutorial feel live stream, but if you guys say it's working okay, then here we are. I can't edit out all the dumb things I say, so that's a downside to it, but all right, so if we look over here, we're still oh yeah, they're going to give us, yeah, here we go.
Leave 6X heading 075, expect radar vectors for visual approach runway tree 5.
075.
Leave 6X heading 075, expect radar vectors for visual approach. Runway 35, November 6063 Echo.
November 6063 Echo, descend and maintain 4000.
Descend and maintain 4000, November 6063 Echo.
All right, I'm going to turn off our auto throttle for now. I want to make sure I'm not going too fast. So I put in the heading they gave us, 075. I put in 4,000, and now we're going to drop down again. We're about 300 knots, so 3 times 5 is 15, 1,500 feet per minute. I'm always, whenever I have a descent, I'm going to use vertical speed on. I pretty much just always look over at ground speed, multiply it by 5, estimate that as my descent in feet per minute. Now I can just control my speed with my throttle. Go ahead and zoom the map in here. And if we want, we can go ahead, since they said they're going to give us vectors, we could go back to the MFD under procedures, and we can just activate the approach, or sorry, I can activate vectors to final rather. And that'll just draw a big line showing us the final approach course. I think I can see the runway. Oh, not quite. Is it across the water? Yeah, it's once we cross the water, we're going to turn left, so it's over here somewhere. Maybe right there. Maybe further this way. Can't really see the detail just yet. All right, so they cleared us down to 4,000 feet. Remember, just look at say intentions. If you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing, it'll always have the latest instructions for you.
November 6063 Echo, turn left heading 055, descend and maintain 3000 vectors for the approach.
Turn left heading 055, descend and maintain 3000, November 6063 Echo.
3000.
November
Just kept the descent going.
6063 Echo, descend and maintain 2000.
Descend and maintain 2000, November 6063 Echo.
All right, 2000. Did I just see a light out there? Can't quite tell where the runway is yet. It's after the river, because here we can see the river's here in front of us. So it's like near this bend in the river, right past it. So it's like right up here somewhere. Yeah, it should be like right around here. We just can't quite see the detail yet. Thanks again for the super chat, Mike. Appreciate it. Have I flown to tropical places? Oh yeah. We've done the last main tropical stuff we did was it the Caribbean when that World Update came out, I think. So yeah, the Caribbean was really good. The water there was incredible. The amount of work they did in most of the places in the Caribbean, yeah, it was great. It was. I hope it's a sign of what we will see in Flight Sim 2024, like everywhere. But I do have one of those add-ons, that like coastline projects photogrammetry add-on that cleans up all the shorelines globally. That's a really good one that's in the marketplace. It just had an update today. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
November 6063 Echo, airport is at your 12 o'clock 14 miles. Report the field in sight.
12 o'clock 14 miles. That is pretty far. So I'm going to say looking for field by clicking the button.
Report field in sight. November 6063 Echo.
I don't? Oh yeah, it's right here. There it is. Now I can report it in sight. So again, if you don't know what to say or what you can say, just look here. So we're going to report it in sight.
November 6063
oh, there it's kind of popping
Echo,
in now.
field in sight.
November 6063 Echo, cleared visual approach, runway tree 5.
Cleared visual approach 35.
Is it
November
right there?
6063 Echo.
Wait, that is the airport, right?
November 6063
It's so hard for me
Echo,
to see. Or is it
contact
over
Regional
here?
Tower 126.0. Have a good day.
Over to Tower 126.0.
I'm gonna hit nav
November
button,
6063
just
Echo.
so once
see
we
you.
get closer, it's gonna turn us on a course. And actually, I need to. Actually, I'm not.
Regional Tower, November 6063
I'd have to sequence
Echo.
it to the next waypoint.
Visual runway 35.
But I'm gonna get my gear down.
November 6063 Echo, Regional Tower, continue.
Wilco, November 6063 Echo.
Wilco. Am I blind? Where is the runway? It said it was 14 miles ahead, which is like pretty far to see ahead. But now it's not, it's over this direction now, so you can see it's like off to the left over here somewhere. Either it's not loaded in or I just can't see at all. It's actually not changing us to the... Oh yeah, I just said to continue. Okay, we already did that. Am I... Is it right here? I can see the glide slope there. I'm just going to go ahead and take our flight plan and activate the leg to the runway. And then turn on nav mode so I don't miss the turn. We're just out further than I expected us to be. I also slowed us down a lot. I think I see it right out there. Yeah, there's the runway. I think. It looks like a runway. I don't see any lights or anything, but that's gotta be it.
Tree 0 at 7, runway tree 5, cleared to land.
Runway 35 cleared to land. November 6063
All right,
Echo.
gears down, flaps are full. Turn autopilot and yaw damper off. All right, they gave us cleared to land. Have I installed the auto FPS? No, Elaine. I have pretty good performance, and it sounds like a cool concept, though. I haven't needed to use it myself. We're pretty low at 2,000. So because we at least loaded the RNAV approach, I do have the glide slope. I have all the navigation information here as if we're flying the RNAV, so I can use that for guidance too. So I can see I'm a little high, just a tiny bit. Should fly through the arch on the approach. The arch visual approach, like the, what is it? What's the river visual for? Is that for Newark or JFK or something? I've never flown it myself, but I've seen like Air Force Proud fly it and some other people. All right, for the next one, once we land and just find a random parking spot, for the next one we'll do, we'll talk to it. We'll find a route that doesn't have a SID or a star. And then we'll do all the talking ourselves, just so it'll be easier to program without the SID or the star. And we don't have to worry about charts, but we will pull up the taxiway diagrams at least.
500.
Love the Vision Jet, yeah. PC specs, I have a 7800X3D for my CPU and a 4080 Founders Edition with one working fan. And I have like 64 gigs of RAM, and I'm running in 4K, 32-inch 4K. Yeah, of course it's gonna be bumpy. It looks like the turnoff's going to be to the left. I don't really see much more. Birds. I don't know what the wind was because I wasn't listening. Oh, they said wind 330. That's right. Pretty nice headwind.
Exit left at Alpha.
All right, exit left. They said at Alpha, but we're just gonna assume
November
that this is right.
6063 Echo.
And then we just go past the hold short lines right here. So to cross these and then stop, and then we'll wait for them to pass us off to the tower. And here we can clean it up. We can get our flaps up. We can change our light configuration. Turn pitot heat off. That kind of stuff. All right, so this is another one of the cases where it doesn't know when you're ready to request taxi to the ramp. So you do have to go in and hit it at this point. So the main parts are like you have to hit it to get your clearance, to taxi to the active, to say you're ready to take off. And then when you land, you have to say when you're ready to taxi after you've moved off of the active runway.
November 6063 Echo. Request taxi to the ramp.
Hey Mike, no, I don't run FS realistic.
6063 Echo. Welcome to St.
It
Louis
sounds
Airport.
really nice though.
Or advise if need assignment.
All right, so something that BeyondATC does that's great, which especially you guys that fly in airliners are gonna love, is you can choose your gate or ramp. I don't know any, so you can tell them to assign you the parking. But if you fly in and out of very specific airports and you know them and you know, we're doing super realistic stuff like only parking at the gates that are for your airline company and stuff like that, you can choose it here when you land. Or you can just say any ramp.
We'll take any ramp, please. November 6063
No gates
Echo.
at this airport.
November 6063 Echo, ramp 2 tree taxi via Alpha.
So if you happen to know
Ramp
like
23
where that
taxi
ramp is,
via
you can
Alpha.
go there, but I'm just
November
gonna
6063
randomly
Echo.
go to where everybody else is. All right, then we'll find another one. We'll do another one, but this time we'll talk to it. What's really nice is how you can turn on and off the auto respond feature, the auto tune radio feature, or click to respond or click for any requests at a moment's notice. You don't have to like commit to using your microphone, right? You can click these things. Click one and then say the other. Turn on auto respond for 10 minutes and go grab a drink from the fridge and come back. You know, like you can just turn the things on and off as you need them. All right, Drew and Raccoon are coming into landing still. Oh, sorry, I just missed a couple of you guys. They bring the drone over there. See a couple smooth landings. Drew's in the TBM 930. Raccoon's in, I don't know what, probably the Vision Jet. We got a few of you guys still coming in. Yeah, we'll do another flight where, yeah, we talk to it, and we'll try to pick a slightly simpler route without a Cirrus star. Maybe just a bunch of fixes. That is perfect center line. You know how they have cheats in most video games? If you touch the center line, clearly you're hacking. So I don't know how much you pay monthly for those cheats, but apparently it's worth it. See that landing? Touch the center line. Is the RTX 1660 Super? It's pretty dated. Like, I don't know the absolute minimum specs, but you're more than likely going to be able to find somebody who's tried it on most hardware configurations. Like just Googling or checking Reddit or even checking the Microsoft Flight Sim forums. That's a good place to look. All right, since we're here, I'm going to close BeyondATC because right now, at least right now, we have to restart it between flights for it to pull in a new flight plan from SimBrief. Delta says haven't flown CFM since update. Haven't flown the Airbus at all for 3 weeks. Not going to be pretty. I'm not sure the ramp number. I just went to where the rest of the guys were. Yeah. Oh, it was in Reagan. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, the river visual for 1-9er. Yeah, I haven't flown that myself. I think the last time I saw that flown was, I think it was Air Force Proud was doing it on VATSIM or something, and it was cool. Sean also said having auto tune and auto respond, especially in airliners, is like having your own first officer. Exactly. Yeah, it's awesome. It just takes a lot of the work out of it. Like you can, you don't even really have to write down. You don't have to write down any notes really. All you have to do is look up your charts as you need them, and program your FMS as you need it, and you're good to go. It's pretty amazing. All right, we're gonna watch FX and Raccoon Land, and then we're gonna find another route. We're gonna leave from this airport, so I'll go and use the random flight, random route finder. And we'll find a flight from KALN to somewhere else. What's the first officer add-on? I think it's called FSFO, Flight Sim First Officer. It's where you can, where the first officer, you can like, I think you talk to it, right? And it does actions within the plane for you. Like it'll do the startup sequence for you and things like that. I haven't used it myself though. Oh, Corpo, I just saw your message on Twitch. Got to take the puppy out. See, with BeyondATC, you just check those boxes, take the dog for a walk. You're good to go. No ground controller human to talk to, like on VATSIM or something. He was talking to it? Yeah, yeah. All right, here comes our Vision Jet. FX is in the Vision Jet, Lake Pilot in the TBM-9. Delta's in the A320, but we're not supposed to watch him. Oh, he didn't say not to watch him. He just said that it wasn't going to be pretty. I'm sure it's still going to be buttery smooth. All right, FX in the Vision Jet. Did I figure out how to get the GTN 750? Yeah, I think it was Cyber and was it Chris or Mike? Both helped me out. You just have to go to the Pilatus the PC12 website, the SimWorks Studio website, and they just have an extra you download, you put in your community folder. That's it. It was much more comfortable using the GTN. These are some smooth landings. The winds are pretty nice. Oh, Lake Pilot's going for multiple touchdowns though. He got at least six or seven touchdowns. He's padding his logbook as usual. All right, Delta's at 10,000 feet still, but he's going to be coming in very fast. All right, I'm just going to do a quick, I don't know why I'm doing this shutdown actually. I don't really need to. I guess just force a habit. All right, so for the next one, we'll find another route. We'll use the random flight generator. I'll post a link to this in the chat because people always ask about it. And thanks again, Josh. Josh definitely owns this website. He's always talking about it. He definitely doesn't like it just because it's a good site. He's definitely, there's some sort of conspiracy here. But yeah, you can put in any of the information at the top to filter and just hit search and it'll find. So I'm finding routes under 200 miles from this airport, KALN. All right, let's see, where do we want to go? Davenport. Let's see if it's fully towered there. It is. We got clearance delivery. Actually, no, it's CTAF. So it's not fully towered. Just because it has an airport diagram doesn't mean so, but generally that's a good filter. If it doesn't even have an airport diagram, it probably isn't going to have a tower and a ground frequency. Cedar Rapids, Mountain Home, Owensboro, Kaiser Lake, Ozark. That sounds cool. No tower. So I'm just, every time you click one of these cards, it'll automatically open it up in SkyVector. So you can see the direct route. You can choose a route if you want from the drop down in the top. We're going to use SimBrief for ours though. But you can more importantly look to see what kind of approaches they have, if they have an airport document, and if it's towered from the taxiway diagram. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye out for Delta. Okay, let's check another one. Usually I try to pick ones I haven't been to before, like Quincy. I don't know if I've been to Quincy. Oh, this is pretty short though. Let's put in a minimum of 120 miles. And I'll go up to 220. I'll add a little bit more just so we have a little more time, potentially. Walnut Ridge, 170 miles away. Nope, doesn't have an airport diagram. Probably doesn't have a tower. Gary, Chicago International. Definitely a tower and ground controller there. Let's go to Gary, I guess. KGYY. So I'm going to go back to SimBrief and create a new flight. All right. So under departure, we're going to put in, or in arrival, we'll put KGYY, KG, and then from KALN, which is St. Louis Regional. So KALN to KGYY. I'm going to choose the SF50 again, which is the Vision Jet. I'm going to change my registration number. All right, and then I'm just going to put none for passengers. If you fill in these optional entries for like passengers and freight and stuff like that, it'll, or the zero fuel weight, it'll do the fuel calculations with that in mind. Okay, now here we have an arrival procedure again, a star. So we're going to pick another route that hopefully doesn't have a star just to simplify our route. This one has one called the Motif 6. So I could just delete that from the routing and hit Analyze Route again. So we get more of a direct route. So this is another way to just simplify it if you're just getting into ATC. Like delete any procedures that, or delete any SIDs and stars just to simplify how many things you have to look up. If we look at view all routes, Kilpie, I almost thought it said Kipley. But yeah, the only real world route that does not have one is this one called, that goes just direct to Kilpie. This is pretty much just a direct route. That's a little boring. So, you know what? I'm going to, you know, let's use the charts. I'll go ahead and use one. So anyway, if you do want to simplify it, you can remove the procedures, but I might as well show it. And I'm curious what the Motif 6 arrival is like anyway. So let's check that out. Something with flying a plane like the Vision Jet though, is that some of these routes, like SIDs and stars specifically, a lot of them are made specifically for turbojets, so an airliner, not like a turboprop. And even though this is called the Vision Jet, it's pretty much like a turboprop speed. So usually those routes, usually those procedures that are for turbojets are way too fast, and they have restrictions that we can't meet. Usually speed restrictions we can't meet. When they say like be at 280 knots at this altitude, and we just can't do it. So I'll go ahead and hit generate, and I'll just look this up real quick and see if we can actually do this arrival. But again, I don't think that BATC is going to yell at us for speeds just yet. Maybe it will later, but worst case scenario, they yell at you and you just keep flying it anyway. But if I go in here and check the Motif 6, we can look to see if it says something like turbojets only. Or we can also, like here it doesn't. Usually it'll be in this, like one of the corner sections where it says like DME and radar required. And if we look throughout the document, so everything we see is in blue. These are all altitude restrictions. And you can see that it's showing both turbojets and turboprops. So in this plane, I want to treat it like a turboprop basically because it's too slow. So this will work for us because they're specifically calling out turboprops. If it only said turbojets, or it said turbojets only up here in the corner, or it showed speeds like 280 or 200, 300 knots at certain restrictions, they would be in red. A lot of the time I'll say like at 300, at 280 in red. Those are speed restrictions I know we probably can't make unless we're in like a dive. So anyway, this looks good for us. So we can do the Motif 6 arrival as part of this. But now we'll see the power of having Navigraph. Having Navigraph is it's very, very nice. If anybody is a real world aspiring real world pilot, and you're learning this stuff for the first time, I am, full disclosure, not a pilot. Never touched a real yoke. Do not fly. Am not an instructor. I'm just a gaming nerd. If you do, you might want to consider something like ForeFlight instead of Navigraph, because in the real world, you're probably going to be using ForeFlight because Navigraph is for simming only, but you can connect ForeFlight to Microsoft Flight Simulator and pull up all the charts and stuff on your tablet on ForeFlight like you would in a real airplane. So that's another consideration if you're thinking about Navigraph, is if you have real world aspirations, then ForeFlight is probably going to be your thing. But yeah, for us simmers, Navigraph is the no-brainer choice if you can afford it. Okay, and I'm going to be taking notes in a little notepad app on the side, so I'll tell you when I'm writing stuff, just so you know that I'm writing it, but you won't necessarily see me typing it. Or you can use a physical notepad. I do that from time to time too. All right, so we've got the flight loaded in. I'm going to pull up the chart for our current airport, and instead of using the UI for BeyondATC to do all of it, I'm going to put everything in manually. So we'll do everything manually and keep BeyondATC in the background, except for right now we're going to load it because I have to get the flight plan imported again. Oh, there's an update. Nice. I think this is their second update today. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let it do its update thing. Let me check the release notes, actually. BeyondATC patch notes are on their Discord. Yep, they just pushed an update about an hour ago, so I'm just getting it. They said they fixed a bunch of connecting to SIM errors. They did more work on eliminating bad or hard to understand basic voice model accents. They fixed for an ILS vector error that was seen in 320 SimPilot's video today. Fixes for UK and EU center names. Fixed for late descents, causing the pilot to be too high in their approach. I wonder if that means it's going to call it out and tell us to descend more often. Fix for an error where it looped negative altimeter is blah, blah, blah over and over again. Cool. So yeah, they just pushed a bunch of fixes. All right. This is actually the plus side to reopening the app every time, is I now have the newest version. If I didn't have to reopen the app, I might not have gotten the new version. Okay, I'm going to turn off auto respond down here. I've imported it, so auto respond is off, auto tune radio is off, and it doesn't have my plane type, so I'm going to use our November call sign. Actually, let me test something really quick while we're talking about call signs. I'm going to go back over here to SimBrief and edit our flight plan. Just for fun, let's put in an airline code. So, let's see, what is, can I do like FedEx? We'll pretend like we're a FedEx feeder, or like, maybe like NetJets or something. EJA is NetJets, so let's do that. Let's see if it recognizes EJA 323 for Los Angeles. I'm just curious, because I haven't tried this myself, and we still have the motif. So I'll generate this and restart it again. I just want to see if it pulls it in. I'm guessing it has to be certain airport codes that are supported, kind of like certain plane type codes are supported. But just out of curiosity, let's see what happens.
BeyondATC connected.
I don't really expect it to have NetJets in there. Oh, it calls it ExecJet. Okay. Yeah, ExecJet 323. ExecJet. I'm not even going to be able to say that. I picked the wrong one. Oh, it'll be funny. ExecJet. Why is that so hard to say? ExecJet. Oh, man. It's the C and then the J sound. All right, we're just going to do a quick startup here. Our altitude, or sorry, our fuel is 858 pounds, and I'll paste the route into the chat again. All right, 858 pounds on the fuel, so I'll fill that up here. All right, we're at 900, that's enough. And we don't have a co-pilot. Oh, Spirit Wings? I just wanted something that might work for a Vision Jet. Exec Jet's going to be hard to say. I can always use my November at the end. We're Exec Jet 6063 Echo. So we're going KALN, which is Alton. And if I look over here on the chart, it's called St. Louis Regional Clearance, St. Louis Regional Ground, St. Louis Regional Tower. So I'm typing in St. Louis Regional. So that's KALN. And then our arrival is going to be, is here KGYY, which is Gary, but it just calls it Gary Ground, Gary Tower. So I'm going to type that in my notes too. KGYY is Gary. All right, then I'm pasting my route in my notes as well. And the first thing we're going to do is grab the ATIS. All right, so we're going to go back to our first chart here and grab the ATIS frequency, 128.0. If you don't want to type in the frequencies and stuff, you can always tab over to BeyondATC. I'm going to hide it during the, just so it's not in the corner, but if you tab over to it, you can always hit the headphones in the bottom right if you don't want to type any frequencies in manually in your plane. Just click on it and it'll pull it in for us. All right, so we're going to get the ATIS. Runway 29er.
Contact, you have information, Victor.
All right, we got Victor. Not quite, though. We'll listen to the loop.
St. Louis Airport information, Victor. 0150 Zulu. Wind 260 at 4, visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 21. Dew point 16. Altimeter 2961. Landing and departing runway 29er.
All right, runway 29er.
On initial contact, you have information, Victor.
All right, we got Victor. Let's go down and
St. Louis Airport information,
swap
Victor.
it off that.
0.
All right, next we have St. Louis clearance on 120.2, 1202. We'll activate that one. And then after that, they're going to give us ground, which is that same frequency. And then after that, they're going to give us tower, which is 26.0. So we'll put 126.0 in the standby. So I'm going to do everything manually this time. All right, probe heat is off and our parking brake is on. Let's make sure I'm configured for takeoff this time. Flaps to 50% and pitch trim 6 degrees. Okay, that's set. And probe heat's off, but we'll turn that on before we get onto the runway. All right, let's get our SimBrief flight plan thrown in here. To KGYY, that's correct. And we have the spinner VOR is our first waypoint. And then after that, we have direct PNT, which is Pontiac VOR. That starts the Motif 6 arrival into runway 20. Now, we did see on the chart over here, there are a bunch of restrictions. So all of these restrictions, though, say expect. So it's up to us, I guess, if we want to program these. It would be a good idea to program them in. But because they're not mandatory altitudes, that is why we're not seeing them here in the avionics, is because we're just expecting them. We're not definitely getting them. So if I want, I can go ahead and put these in. So we're coming from Pontiac VOR. So if we go and find that is PNT. Pontiac's right here. And before that, we're at the spinner. So spinner VOR is down here to the south. So if we follow that up here at Yuri. Actually, we don't even have Yuri, do we? No, our initial point is still Pontiac. So, but it is expecting, it says expect 13,000 at Yuri. I'm not sure why Yuri isn't in here. If we edit the arrival, it's probably the transition. It's not. So we don't actually have this Yuri waypoint where it says expect 13,000. All right, I'll leave that one alone for now. Motif says expect 10,000 though, so I'll go to Motif and put 10,000. Now these only mean anything if we end up, that's 1,000. These only mean anything if we actually use VNav. So at 10,000, then Minoc expect 6,000, so I'll put in 6,000. All right, 6,000 and 10,000. All right, that's enough. So at least we have a couple pre-programmed if we want them. And then altimeter said 2961. I'm going to hit B on my keyboard. Nice. That's what's in the sim. So that matches 2961. And we are expecting runway 29 for departure. That's based off SimBrief. So over here, I'm going to switch to full screen map. Then I'm going to go to procedure, or sorry, over to flight plan and put in runway 29er for our origin runway. And then arriving runway we already have because it's tied to the arrival procedure. And I'll just zoom our map out because we're going to taxi using the Navigraph charts. All right, let's go back to our current taxi diagram here where we are. All right, so we're over here near the control tower at Alpha, and we're expecting them to give us runway 29er, which is over here to the east. So once we get to the taxi part, we're expecting Alpha, but we have to cross runway 1735. This is gonna be a your mileage may vary situation, mattering the data in the sim and if you have third-party scenery and all that stuff, but hopefully we'll get accurate taxiway instructions. We'll see how it is. Steve says BeyondATC's updated 5 or 6 updates. Yeah, they've been releasing a lot, and also to be fair, the guys at Say Intentions are releasing new stuff like every day or every other day as well. Both developers, both companies are killing it. Like, this is the best time to be a sim pilot. Flight Sim 2020 is already incredible enough. Now we have two really good ATC programs using like the latest technology. It's great. And imagine how good it's going to get. Like, people that use BATC, once you get traffic injection in there, it's going to be crazy. And I think Say Intentions might do something like that too. Yeah, it's so nice. A few months back, none of us were this happy. So yeah, I'm really excited about both of them. All right, so we have clearance frequency in, so I'm going to go ahead and call it up and remember to call myself execjet. And we're going to write down our clearance. So I'm going to write down a couple things in advance. Here we have St. Louis departure 124.2. So I'm writing that down. Unless they change it, I'm just going to leave it in there. And we don't have a departure procedure, so I don't know what the altitude they might assign is. And I don't know what squawk code they might assign. But I do know, based on my route, they may tell us vectors to spinner VOR or something like that. So I'm going to write vec spinner AF for as filed. And then I'm just going to fill in the blanks, basically. So you can save yourself a lot of time, like a lot of stress, taking some of these notes down, anticipating what they're going to give you for the departure frequency. Since it gives us St. Louis departure on our chart, I'm going to put that in. At really big airports, it's harder because you'll probably have multiple departure frequencies, multiple tower frequencies. So in those cases, you have to wait until they tell you the frequency to be able to actually, react to it and take that note and read it back. I'm going to go ahead and get the top of the screen looking correct now. All right, there we go. All right, but yeah, it's good if you can anticipate anything like that. It's good to pre-take those notes so you're not struggling to write them down fast enough. All right, so we're going to call for our clearance. This is at St. Louis Regional Clearance, and I'm execjet 6063 Echo. Okay, and I'm on the right frequency, so I'm going to hit push to talk. I'm going to say all that, and we're going to listen back for our clearance and take the notes and then read it back again. St. Louis Regional, yeah. St. Louis Regional Clearance, execjet 6063 Echo, IFR to Gary.
Aircraft calling for clearance, say call sign.
Execjet 6063 Echo.
Aircraft calling for clearance, say call sign.
Maybe this is a bug. It has it right there. Ground execjet. Oh, I called it's execjet 323. I'm dumb.
Aircraft calling for clearance.
This is my fault. I'm saying our November, so I could say November, or I forgot I'm execjet 323. I was saying my registration number. Execjet 323 IFR to Gary.
Execjet 323, St. Louis clearance, cleared to Gary, Chicago Airport. Radar vector spinner VOR, then as filed. Maintain 5,000. Expect flight level tree 10, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 124.2. Squawk 164 tree.
All right, cleared to Gary, vectors, spinner VOR, then as filed, maintain 5,000, departure 124.2, squawk 1643, execjet 323. 323, I should say, whoops.
ExecJet Tree 23, read back correct. Contact Tower 126.0 when ready for start or taxi.
All right, we'll contact Tower 126.0, ExecJet 323. I can't say it. I can't say ExecJet. Blah. It's so hard. Okay, so this is interesting. They told us to contact Tower when we're ready for startup. So in this case, for some reason, they don't have us on ground. They said Tower on 126.0 when you're ready for startup. So we'll just do what they say. We're going to switch over to Tower. What's nice about that, if Tower is going to give us the taxi, is we can put in our departure frequency already, 124.2. It's a little weird, but that's happening. And then we'll set our transponder. So our new code is 1643. If you don't set this and you take off, then the controller after that, your departure controller, will be like, I can't see you. And they'll ask you to check your transponder code and make sure you're in mode C, which is altitude reporting mode. So I'll turn altitude reporting mode on now. Steve says, with Sim Update 15 at some point with 250-ish fixes, Flight Sim 2024 soon, PMDG's 777, BeyondATC. Oh yeah, it's incredible. This is the best year for simming. This is as good as 2020 was, I think, when, at least for me, when this came out, because I wasn't as into simming then when Flight Sim 2020 came out. But yeah, it's amazing. Egg set jet, yeah, exec jet. It's so weird. I was hoping to call it NetJet. Okay, I got those notes taken. So we got vectors to spinner VOR, then as filed. So they said exactly what I thought. That seems to be a pretty common pattern right now with BeyondATC, is that they say they're going to give you vectors to the first fix. But what's really cool is they do read out the name of the VOR. They don't read the code phonetically or anything. And they said maintain 5,000. You do not, to my knowledge, need to say the expect flight level thing. That's just like an FYI. But you do need to repeat back the restriction they give you, which is your initial climb to 5,000 in this case. And then you don't also need to read it back verbatim either. So you can say maintain 5,000, 124.2. That's the departure frequency, but I didn't say departure frequency on 124.2. I just said, I think I said departure 124.2, but you can just say 124.2 and then squawk 1643. It'll probably even accept it if you say 1643 in the box if you want to be cool or whatever. But yeah, you don't have to say it absolutely verbatim. It is easiest to do that, but obviously you have to be really verbose. So you can just repeat back what they say to you. Delta says, have a great flight. I have to get up at 4 a.m. All right, dude. I hope everything's still going well, man. Good to see you. Sorry, I didn't catch your landing because I was here playing with the ATC. I see you now, though. Glad we could see you, even if it was just for a quick flight, Delta. All right, so we have everything in here. We got 5,000. Let me set the autopilot. So we got flight level change and heading mode. We're expecting runway 29, and that is a 294 heading on the chart down here. So I'm going to put in 294 on the heading. 294 is set. Probe heat's off. And then we have... We'll do auto throttle and FMS mode once we take off. All right, we're ready to taxi, and he said to contact Tower for taxi. We're on with the Tower already, so we're gonna tell him we're ready to taxi, and we have information Victor. And this is St. Louis Regional Tower. St. Louis Tower, ExecJet 323, ready to taxi with information Victor.
ExecJet Tree 23, runway 29er taxi via Alpha. Hold short, runway 17.
Runway 29er via Alpha, hold short, runway 17, ExecJet 323. Beautiful. They did it. So here, these are accurate. So when the data is good, the taxiway instructions are also good. So here they said to taxi via Alpha, it's just right next to us, right where the hotspot's located, and hold short runway 17, which is right here. So we're gonna hold short. After we hold short, we're gonna expect them to tell us to just continue via Alpha. I don't know if they do intersection departures or anything. It's a really long runway, so we might be able to get away with like A3 or A4, Alpha 3 or 4, but we just assume full length, so we'll go all the way down to Alpha 5. So we can start our taxi. So let me make sure we got all of our switches on here. Fresh air and oxygen. Strobe and landing lights are on. Engine anti-ice doesn't need to be on until we are under 10 degrees Celsius. All right, here we go over to Alpha, which is right in front of us. We're gonna hold short runway 17, and then we'll let them know, unless they notice that we're going over here. Iron Knob says, since Sunday, I've had 5 updates so far with BeyondATC. Yep. Yeah, they are on top of it. The guys at Say Intentions are on top of it too. Both of them are cranking out updates all the time. It's awesome. All right, here's 17.
ExecJet tree 23, cross runway 17
Nice.
at Alpha. Continue taxi via Alpha.
And cross runways 17 at Alpha and continue via Alpha. ExecJet 323. I didn't hear the ding sound that happens when you get something right. Let me try to repeat it again. All right, taxi to runway Alpha via Alpha and correction, cross runway 17 at Alpha, continue to runway 29 via Alpha. ExecJet 323. There we go. So actually, that's one of the cases where it's good to have the UI on. I didn't hear back from them, and they also aren't saying anything this time, but it made the ding sound, so that means I'm good. Yeah, like Steve is saying, you can turn off the UI, which is pretty nice. I hope they add in like little like radio static sounds when you transmit, just to confirm you hit the button. But yeah, I remember doing that on Thursday? Yeah, on Thursday I did that where I turned off. You can turn them off if you want to, if you want the silence, but I kind of like them on just because at least it gives me feedback that it heard me. I think BeyondATC recommends you leave them on, but yeah, if they annoy you, you can go into the settings and turn all, it's called UI sounds, I think is what they call it. You just turn the sounds off completely. But yeah, that's a good tip if your immersion is ruined by the pings and the bleep blops. All right, so we got autopilot all set. We're configured for takeoff. We just need to turn our probe heat on. Flaps are at takeoff position, 50%. Pitch trim is nose up, 6 degrees. This is a pretty long taxi, so we'll try to step on it here. So I know that I wonder if BeyondATC is going to do any multiplayer taxiing of people on their network. Like, Say Intentions is like multiplayer aware, like you can hear other people talk on Say Intentions when they're on your frequency, or you can say that you want it like chatter mode turned on where you hear people from wherever they are randomly just to fill the air. That's a really cool feature. I wonder if BeyondATC, because they're going to do the sequencing, the traffic sequencing, I wonder if it's going to take into account multiplayer traffic or not. I don't think it is actually. I believe they talked about that. I think they basically said, like, if they don't control the traffic, they don't know the intentions of the traffic, so they have to control the traffic to be able to sequence. That would be kind of nuts if eventually that could work, though. All right, we are we're about halfway there, I guess. Try to keep the taxi speed up. But we're going to close this for now. Steve, I'm using premium voices. You bought the update pack. Oh, is that the supporter pack? Is that what you bought? Supporter pack came with 800,000. That's insane. I had like 200,000 during the beta testing because I was part of that. So last week when I was using it, I had 200. I'm down to 41,000 already. Wow, yeah. So on that one flight, I used 10,000 on one flight. So I'm gonna be out of premium pretty fast. Either I'm gonna beg them for more, or more than likely I'll pull out my wallet. And most likely I'll just do this: basic, and then not change it again. Yeah, I just switched over to basic, so we can go ahead and see what those sound like. I think the basic ones are fantastic already, so... but as they add more and more premium voice things out there, like... I thought they said that they were... Wait, didn't they say they would be adding... Did I miss something in the settings? Did they add someone else to the auto-respond voice? Jeff, Ryan, Squirrel, EasyJet, Overkill. They haven't added anyone else. Okay. They said that they would be adding some kind of celebrity something somewhere. I don't know if maybe it's a controller, but I think for them, like for their business, maybe they're trying to add more things, more reasons for you to want to use premium, like the celebrity voices and stuff like that. So I could see like if there's some stuff you think's hilarious, or they add Yoda or, you know, something like that to it, or, you know, any kind of celebrity voices that could be hilarious to fly with, or just make it more fun. I could see like plopping down $10 every now and then to use that for a few flights. I mean, costs, like all the AI stuff, costs are going to come down over time. Chewbacca, yeah. All right, we're at the tower now, so we can let them know ready for takeoff on runway 29er. St. Louis Tower, exec jet 323, ready for departure, runway 29er. All right, let's get our pitot heat on.
323,
done.
Regional Tower, wind 260 at 4, fly heading 300, runway 29er, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 29er, clear for takeoff. We'll fly 300, heading exec jet 323.
No. Exejet 323 cleared for takeoff, runway 29er.
Didn't I say that? Clear for takeoff, runway 29er, fly heading 300, exec jet 323. I said something wrong. All right, so they want us to fly heading 300, not runway heading. So I'm going to update my heading here to 300, right there in blue. And we're going to wait till we're at about 1,000 feet to make our first turn. Yeah, he just said no. No. Right turn on final, you must. Yeah, exactly. Do you have to speak? Rare plane, you don't have to speak. You can use the buttons, see in the bottom left. There are 3 ways to interact with it. Actually, well, all right, technically, I guess there's 4 almost. You can turn on automatic mode, where the majority of responses and the radio tuning will be automatic. These 2 buttons here. You can reply or issue a request by clicking the buttons down here in the bottom left, or you can speak those available options yourself. There's also a way, whatever the first response here is in the list, which is going to be the most likely response that you're going to use most of the time, you can set a hotkey to that on your keyboard, your stick, your mouse, whatever controller you have. This one right here that says Fire Action 1. If you hit that button, it will automatically send that response through the button press. And it's not free, Mariella. It's $30, 30 US dollars. All right, he said clear for takeoff, right? I think he did. Yeah, clear for takeoff, 29er. All right, let's go. And we're going to fly runway heading, or sorry, we're going to fly heading 300 after we take off. But yeah, and we're using the basic voices now, so these are the free voices. No extra premium character usage for these voices we're hearing. Rare says, now is this everyone using BATC server? Just BeyondATC, yeah, it's third party. All right, gear's coming up. It's third party. It's not part of Microsoft Flight Simulator, so it's a third party add-on. So you can get it. It's a one-time cost of $30, and it includes push to talk, all the basic voices, and then if you want, you can pay for premium voices, which can get kind of pricey, but you get a bunch of premium voice like credits in advance, like with your purchase. But theoretically, you could pay $30 and never pay for it again. So it's a very reasonable price.
Contact us to Lewis departure. See you.
Over to departure. See you, exec jet 323. I mean, you can see how fast I can talk to. That's the real power in all this AI stuff, all the AI generated stuff, or all the AI services we're using. The voice recognition is the most impressive one, I think, of all of them. Departure, exec jet 323, 2,500, climbing 5,000, heading 300. So I'm giving them the heading this time because they specifically assigned it. Exec jet 323.
Exojet Tree 23.
Oh,
SC Lewis
Exa.
departure. Good day. Radar contact. Climb and maintain 1515,000. Altimeter 2961.
Exojet? Is it Exojet? I thought it was ExecJet. All right, this said climb and maintain 15,000. Rolling that selected altitude knob just in time.
Exojet Tree 23. SC Lewis departure. Good day. Radar contact. Climb and maintain 1515,000. Altimeter 2961.
Oh, I didn't reply to them, did they? I didn't reply at all, did I? Climb and maintain 15,000. Exojet 323. I guess I'll just say Exojet.
323. Turn right. Heading 030. Expect further clearance in about 17 miles.
Turn right heading 030. Exojet 323. 030. All right, heading mode. We're already on that. We'll just keep rolling it right. Did you notice, has it always done this? When they're talking, there's like background noise happening. It sounds like they're like actually at like a radar services like office or whatever, at like an RTAC office, like in the room with other controllers around them. There's like background talking. Sandman's watching on Twitch as well. Nice. YouTube has objectively better quality though, in my opinion. Like Twitch definitely has much cooler like integrations with like streaming tools and funny text-to-speech stuff and things like that. But YouTube video quality is so good, and you can replay it at any time during the stream. It's great. You might have to buy it. Yeah, I would if you're looking for a good. In my opinion, this is like the go-to. Everyone should own BeyondATC. It's $30 one-time fee. And then I think after that, like if you have more money to spend and you want something way more immersive, like way more AI heavy with multiplayer, you hear other players talk, then go Say Intentions, which is $30 a month. But you know, the cost of the premium features of BeyondATC, the premium voices, will come down over time. So will the cost of Say Intentions come down over time. But we've never had this level of AI ability before, so nobody can really predict how long it's going to take for it to come down. Just turn me to 4K. Oh, I shouldn't be on... Wait, I'm not on 4K, am I? I should be only 1440p. Do I have 4K on by accident? Wait, do you mean... It must be 1440p, because I'm not broadcasting in 4K. Oh, 2K, okay. I have broadcast in 4K before, and I am running at 4K. It's possible for me to do 4K. The big problem with 4K, though, is that the time I see your chat and reply to it is like a 20-second delay or 30-second delay. That's the only reason I'm not doing 4K, is because when you guys say something, when I'm paying attention, my response time to you is much faster. There's way less delay. So, all right, we're going to turn engine anti-ice on because it's -1 degrees. 1440 looks pretty decent. Nice. I am using their best like encoding algorithm that YouTube has, so it helps. Kilrick says, if you have some time, show us how to use Navigraph. I'm doing it right now. If you have any questions, I can show you, but yeah, that's what we're doing this moment. BeyondATC and Navigraph.
Exojet Tree 23. Contact Kansas City Center 128.1.
All right, over to Kansas 128.1, Exojet 323. Kansas Exojet 323, 13,000, climbing 15,000.
Exojet Tree 23, Kansas City Center. Climb and maintain flight level 310.
Climb and maintain flight level 310, Exojet 323. All right, 310. We're going all the way up. Oh, sorry, I still have that on. Up 030 and keep rolling the selected altitude up to 310. A house tour. Wait, what is going on? Ah, there we go. I keep it in the wrong button, sorry. Horrible. I've never streamed before, so.
Exit 23, clear direct spinner VOR, resume navigation.
Clear direct spinner VOR and resume nav. ExecJet 323. Direct, activate, nav mode, direct spinner VOR. There we go. Killrick says, I thought it was on SimBrief. What was on SimBrief? Oh, on SimBrief? That only worked. Oh, I see. Are you talking about? Yeah, so with BeyondATC, you have to use SimBrief to create your flight plan.
Exit 323. Contact Kansas City Center 127.27.
127.27 ExecJet 323. 127.27. All right, back over to Kansas City Center. Normally, realistically, we would wait like 10 seconds to make sure nobody else is talking before we talk. But because we know there's no other traffic and no other humans, like you can just talk immediately. But the courteous thing to do whenever you change frequencies is to wait about 10 seconds just to make sure no other communication was happening. And also realistically, like I think VATSIM even does this, and maybe even Say Intentions, mattering your distance from the current frequency, you may not hear the other pilot talking. You may only hear the controller they're talking to because you're on opposite sides of the controller, basically. But anyway, with this, because it's just us, you can go ahead and just talk immediately. Who are we on with Kansas again? Kansas City Center. Kansas City, ExecJet 323, 16,500, climbing flight level 310. Like, you can just talk full speed. It's crazy.
Kansas City Center, roger.
All right, and we're going to be passing through 18,000, so we'll just switch over to standard barrel. Faithful says, on the BeyondATC store, on the supporters pack, description says you get access to their development branch where they work on the latest features. Yeah, you basically get access to like what us beta testers were using, like another branch where like it will be separate from the early access branch, but like experimental basically. So yeah, that stuff's exciting. You want to be like on the super bleeding edge of everything they're working on, then yeah, that's part of the supporters pack, which is cool. And then just if you have an extra $30 to throw at them, if you have that kind of disposable income and you just want to support their team, that's another, it's just a way you can give them a little extra cash, help keep them going and everything. Steve says 1440 for streaming, 4K for recorded videos is perfect balance. Yeah. I only got 4K. I don't know. Has it been 3 or 4 months? I got a 4K monitor. It's been a really nice change. But all my videos up until actually even the one I posted in January, I don't think was 4K. So if I make whenever I make another tutorial, which who knows whenever that is, it will be in 4K. Sometimes I did experiment a little with streaming in 4K. It's nice. It's just if I'm chatting with you guys in more real time and I'm not distracted, then it's kind of annoying that it takes like 30 seconds for me to read it, then you hear my reply. If we're like going back and forth or something. Might upgrade when they make the option available. Wait, for the supporters pack? I think it's already available, isn't it? I believe it's already in there if you go to store. Oh, do you mean to upgrade, right? Are you talking about to upgrade? Like you can't upgrade yet, but they said I think they're going to look into it. Right now, if you didn't buy it initially, then you can't. Yeah, got it. Yeah, you can't upgrade if you already have the basic version. Yeah. Maybe it was one of you guys. Maybe it was you, Steve, that was asking about it in their Discord. I saw someone asking about it. Marielle says, new to flight sim, recommend a pathway to learn how to fly. I think it just matters. It very, very much matters what your goals are with simming, Mariella. So for me, like the thing I was most interested in are the computers, like the avionics. That's the thing I was most interested in. Like even the physics of flying, I was like, I'll learn that stuff later. So like I didn't start with flying around an airport in circles over and over. I started by learning autopilot because I was like, this is so cool. I want to learn procedures and I want to learn all the rules. I want to learn how to route and get across the world and use waypoints. Like it really, really matters. It just matters what your goals are. So like if you want to fly using ATC with your voice like I'm doing right now, and you want to fly, you know, from one airport to another with a realistic route and realistic ATC coverage, the path is very doable. You can take a lot of shortcuts and learn abbreviated stuff. There will be I would say that in the flight sim community, you will probably run into a lot of gatekeepy type people that have been simming for 30 years, you know, or longer, and they think somebody should be in a tiny plane doing circles around an airport for 50 hours until they touch the autopilot. I don't think that way. Like, the way I think is that you should do whatever is going to motivate you to keep learning and keep playing. It just matters how seriously you want to take it. And I would say to mostly ignore those people, because it at the end of the day, for a lot of people, for like a good 80% of people that sim, and this is somewhat scientific because this company that makes this product with the charts, Navigraph, they do a survey every year, and their most recent survey basically said that about 80% of people fly the sim just for fun. They're not real world pilots. They're not in training for flying in real life. They're not a real life pilot already. You know, they're just flying because they think it's fun, or they're interested in it, or they're like a gamer or a sim enthusiast. So the vast majority of people are not real pilots. But the ones that are, it's incredible. We can watch them. Like, you can watch pilots like V1 on YouTube, and there are a lot of other ones that are real world pilots, and you can watch them and learn from them, which is great. But I wouldn't let it discourage you when some people are like, you're not doing this realistically. Like, if you're having fun and you're learning, I think and you're reaching whatever your goal is, that's what's fun. Your goal could be to do like low-level scenic tours or gliders, or like fly helicopters through canyons and mountains and under bridges. Like, that could be your goal. That's going to be totally different than the guy that's been flying the sim for 40 years, flying the same route from JFK to LAX and the same exact waypoints for decades, who says the only plane you should fly is a 787, you know, like, or a 747. Like, their goals are totally different. So I wouldn't let that discourage you. Like, everybody's goals are going to be different, and if you're there's a way to get to your goal in the sim. Like, yeah, the tutorial lessons. So the real thing you can do, to start, I do think that the tutorials that are built into the sim are valuable. They're not the best, but the reason they're good, if you go to like the activities on the home screen and go through the training, the reason they're really good is because everybody has a different setup. Some people are on Xbox with just a controller in their hand. Some people are on PC with just a keyboard and a mouse. Some people have a whole home cockpit that costs them $20,000, and they're just getting into simming, but they blew all their money on it, and they're like, I have a real cockpit in my living room, you know? Everyone has a different setup. So the best thing about the activities section, like the training section built in, is it's going to teach you the basics with your controller type that you have. Whether you have a stick, a yoke, a throttle, or none of it, just an Xbox controller, it's going to be able to teach you what buttons to hit for the basics. So that's really important. Because if I tried to teach you, I'd be like, oh yeah, just get out your flight stick and your rudder pedals and your throttle quadrant, and you'll be like, wait, I don't have any of that. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm not teaching you the right way, or I can't recommend exactly how to do it. So I would do those basic ones. And there are so many tutorials on YouTube you can look up. The tutorials I have, I don't even have that many of them. They're all very focused on using the touchscreen, like Garmin's, the modern avionics, and autopilot, because that's what I was interested in. There are also other guys who were way better, like Forder, for example, who's like part of the Microsoft Flight Sim, like official like community. I think he works with their team a lot. His whole thing is like teaching people how to do basic traffic patterns, very basic navigation, like starting from absolute scratch as if you're flying a real airplane. So there's so many different paths you can take. And there are guys like 320 SimPilot and like EasyJet SimPilot that'll get you going like A to Z in an Airbus like right away. There's so much content out there to watch that if you just look it up on YouTube and Google it, you'll probably find a good starting path. Like Squirrel is a really big simmer, and a long time ago he put out like when Flight Sim 2020 first came out, I think he has his private pilot's license. He put out a series of tutorials just getting people up, giving them a good replacement kind of for the built-in tutorials. Yeah, there's just so many options. So tutorials now, probably fly around to get the feel, how to fly, navigation, yeah, and then ATC afterwards, yeah. And I think that's the right approach. Like, add things as you get comfortable with things, add the next level on of the things you want to do. So if you do want to fly with ATC, don't even worry about ATC. Turn it off completely. Don't open the ATC window. Don't worry about what people are saying to ATC on streams like mine. You know, just focus on what you're doing. Just taking off and landing a bunch of times, doing circles around an airport, flying to your neighborhood. You know, people do that a lot in the sim because the whole world is modeled. Yeah, it's super fun, and yeah, there's a lot of places to ask questions and stuff. Like Microsoft has their own forums for Flight Simulator. That's a great resource. They have their own Discord server. If you don't use Discord, I would check it out. I have one, but it's not as big as like the Microsoft one where you may find help more quickly. But yeah, just remember, whenever you run into people that are like discouraging, or they're like trying to tell you like, don't do it that way, it's not realistic, I would mostly ignore them unless your goals are to do everything 100% realistically from day one. It could be really discouraging to try to do that anyway. Like, you gotta sprinkle in fun. Like, every now and then hop in a fighter jet and just do loops around other players that are in airliners, you know, whatever it takes to keep having fun and stay motivated. So this is a super long rant. Yeah, Pete Gatcombe has an amazing channel too, and he posts very often. So yeah, there's a lot, and people will have endless recommendations for who they love watching. All right, well, we are at our cruise altitude. Altitude selected. I have not checked our top of descent. Nice, 5 minutes. So because we have the arrival in advance, we have the top of descent kind of since we took off. It started calculating that. So 4 minutes for our top of descent. And if we look at the arrival chart, we did have some restrictions, but they're expect restrictions. They're not like mandatory restrictions. So we're just going to be listening to ATC to hear what they give us. But the first one we're expecting is 13,000 feet. All right, let's make sure our heading bug is synced ahead. And let's go ahead and get ATIS in our COM2 radio. So here's ATIS at Gary, 134,575. 134,575. Get that in COM2, and then turn on monitoring on COM2.
Exejet 323, contact Chicago Center 119.22. Have a good day.
119.22, ExecJet 323.
Negative, Chicago Center on 119.22.
Yeah, 119.22, ExecJet 323. All right, maybe I said the wrong one. 119.22, and the 5 is mandatory at the end, I guess. There's no 220. Chicago Center, ExecJet 323, flight level 310.
Exejet 323.
Exejet.
Chicago Center. Roger.
I'm gonna write Exejet. All right, so I'm clearing my notes here, and we're gonna look for ATIS. We want the ATIS at Gary. See if we can get it in. So I'll leave monitoring on down here. Something you can look for. Actually, do we have the right one? 34,575. 134,575. So if you look at the BeyondATC interface, at the bottom it shows what your radios are tuned to. But right now, like, it's only one line. It's not noticing my COM2 radio yet. Sometimes it'll say like COM1, Chicago Center, COM2, generating ATIS or something like that. It's not saying that right now. So it's probably just not in range yet. So it's not recognizing it as like a frequency we can tune to right now. But I'm just going to leave it tuned in and leave monitoring on COM2, so we'll hear it once we get close enough. Steve says, yeah, enjoy the sim, as that's what's really important. Add complexity over time is good advice for any new simmer. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to get into simming as much as I did. And it just was so interesting to me that I was just Googling stuff all the time, especially like I have looked through so much of the Garmin G1000 manual, the 530 and 430 manual, just because I'm like, what's that? And then I just browse through it, look for the screenshots in the manual, be like, oh, that's what that is. Now I'm going to make a tutorial about it. Some of my older tutorials especially, like it's clear I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Like I'll call the instrument the wrong name. Like, here, look at the ILS instrument. It's like, that's a CDI. But I didn't know it at the time. So I tried to learn it and just got several things wrong. So I was like, oh no. But people still find them helpful, so I've left them. Christopher says, it seems the ATC readback on flight levels is out by a large amount. Altimeter reads flight level 270, ATC transmits 273. Yeah, I believe it's not doing like a baro. What I think's happening, Christopher, is it's not using standard baro. So it's essentially picking out what your actual MSL value is in reality. So because we standardize on like 2992 in the United States, we're not actually at flight. We're not at 31,000 feet right now. We're at whatever the local pressure of where we are is, but we standardize in the flight levels. So technically we're not at 31,000 at this moment. So I think what's happening is that BeyondATC is looking at the, not this like standard baro based altitude. It's looking at what our actual MSL altitude is, which is different than this. So I think that's where it's pulling the number from. Tier 0 says, does BeyondATC support VFR? Not yet. IFR first, so that's what we're doing. And I'm not sure where VFR is on their roadmap, but they do plan on doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if we got the traffic stuff first, where they're going to inject and sequence AI traffic with us. I think that might be one of the first things they do. But yeah, I have no idea how long it'll be or any of that. But yeah, if you want to do VFR, say intentions is still a good option. It's more expensive. It's like $30 a month. But if you're really itching to do VFR, say intentions is really fun. It's just a different kind of ATC. It's got all the multiplayer stuff. For a long time, I was using say intentions on the stream, but now that BeyondATC is out, I'm going to be hopping back and forth between the two. Steve says, I started out with a Cessna, and now I fly the 737-800. Yeah, when I look back over the years, it's amazing how much I've learned, how many hours I spent in the sim. Yeah. Yeah, I am not great at flying the Airbus, like the Phoenix or anything. I've done it a few times, but I am not proficient, that's for sure. If there's no like auto lands, like a Cat 3 ILS, I'm kind of freaked out. It's just a whole nother beast landing an airliner. It is not easy. Even after like 3,000 hours in the sim and GA planes, it's like the skills it's just totally different. Tigger says there's a roadmap button in the app. You can view the sequence. Oh, it's in the app? Where is the roadmap button? I didn't even know that was in there. Maybe it's on the home screen or something. Since I'm in a flight, maybe I can't see it. That's cool if it's in the app. Sandman on Twitch says, my wife's dad flies a Cessna 182, I think. Has been for the past 30 years. In the real world, you mean? Ninja says, I tried to land in airliners. Doesn't go successfully every time. Yeah, it's pretty difficult. And Raccoon said, I started out mostly flying bush planes at the NX Cup, gradually worked my way up to turboprops, yeah, and light jets. Yeah, I did the 172 for a while. And then I went from the 172 to the Grand Caravan, because it's just like a big 172. It's not even that much faster. I found it really easy to fly. Yeah, I think that would be a cool thing, is to get suggestions over like, you know, which planes to start in and where to graduate to. Like for me, like for props, I think the 172 to the Grand Caravan is a really good jump. We have so many more options now though. So you can just jump into something a little bit faster. Like even the Meridian for a turboprop is like slower than something like a TBM.
Chicago Center.
Expect motif 6, runway 20.
Expect motif 6, runway 20, exojet 323. All right, motif 6. Let's double check that that's what we have right here, which it is. Motif 6, runway 20. We are expecting that. We're already kind of on the arrival already. And yeah, we're almost at Pontiac already. So they said expect 13,000, but they haven't descended us. We're at 31,000. All right, so this is gonna be very unrealistic because I have to call for descent. Exojet 323 ready for descent. I'm just gonna dive bomb it at idle basically to get us down.
323. Cross Pontiac VOR at and maintain flight level 180. Gary/Chicago Airport landing runway 20. Altimeter 2957.
Cross Pontiac at and maintain flight level 180, and we'll expect runway 20. Exojet 323. 180. So they want us to cross this waypoint that is 8 miles in front of us. Vertical speed down as fast as possible and idle. So I'm actually going to use flight level change mode now, just to maintain a specific airspeed. So we'll descend as fast as possible. So we're in idle with flight level change, so it's going to pitch us to go down as fast as possible.
Exojet 323. Contact Chicago Center 124.55.
124.55, Exojet 323, thanks.
My pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure. I didn't know they were going to reply to me. That's cool. All right, 18,000. Chicago Center, Exojet 323. Flight level 280, descending 18,000, motif 6.
Exojet 323. Chicago Center,
Oh, the sim is freezing. Oh, Fish says BATC changed your arriving runway. It changed your arrival runway? Yes. That's awesome. I actually didn't know that it did that. But yeah, I guess based on the ATIS, based on the METAR, that's really cool. Wonder if you can request to do an orbit. I don't think so. So this is one of the differences right now between Say Intentions and BeyondATC. Say Intentions doesn't need like an explicit, like necessarily explicitly coded to support that, but it could listen and interpret it like you would with ChatGPT, right? Because it uses a system like that. I think it actually uses ChatGPT. And if that's not an option in BeyondATC in this list, then we can't do it. But that just means that they just need to make the option later. That doesn't mean we won't ever be able to do it. It's just right now we can't because it's not in the kind of the approved list of things you can do. All right, so we're going down to 18,000 feet. And then we're supposed to expect 10,000 at motif is the next one. We're going 6,000 feet per minute. Totally unrealistic, but I'm just, making up for my mistakes, basically. And they said altimeter 2957, so let's put that in. 2957, 18,000 feet. Our next restriction is going to be 10,000. All right, I'm going to add some power back in so we start pitching up.
Exojet 323. Descend and maintain 9,000. Altimeter 2957.
Descend and maintain 9,000. Exojet 323. See how fast I'm talking, and it just gets it every time. It's insane. All right, descend and maintain 9,000. So I'm going to start in vertical speed mode, and I can see over on the side of the screen it says we need about 2,500 feet per minute. So we're going to set that. I'm also going to turn auto throttle back on. It'll handle our speed for us. Okay, we need to go down to 9,000 now. Not 10,000. And because we're not given like a restriction, like she didn't say go to 9,000 by motif or anything like that, so we're just using vertical speed. So if I want to do it more realistically, we would do like 330, that's our ground speed over here, times 5. This gives us like 1680, so call it 1700. So I'm just going to do that. I'll do like 1800, just a little bit faster, but we won't be diving quite as intensely now. All right, we're also expecting them to give us a approach soon, because once we get past motif here and then Minnock, we're going to need to know where to go. And if we look at the written instructions, there are no written instructions. So after Minnock, it just says Minnock expect, and then the VOR is here. So it's leaving us off in this direction on a radial. So we'll just keep flying this direction because it services a few airports like Gary and Chicago Midway. So then they'll have to give us an approach or headings over towards Gary, which is over here. But it looks like this is probably is for Chicago as well, this arrival.
Exit 323.
Yeah, it says Gary /
Contact
Chicago
Center 123.75.
123.75, exit jet 323. Should have said see ya. Chicago Center, exit jet 323, 13,600, descending 9,000.
Exit jet 323, Chicago Center, roger.
All right, still going down to 9,000. The way ATC said, my pleasure. Sounded like something Chick-fil-A would say. Oh my God, Chick-fil-A is so delicious. Space shuttle descent. Yeah, I had to make up for my mistakes here. Yeah, Fish. Maybe it does happen. I didn't know if they changed the runway or not. Looks like we're getting a little icing. Let's get our anti-ice turned on here. Wing and windshield. Wing might be okay. I don't see anything on the leading edge, so we'll keep the wing off, but we'll keep the windshield on. This is normal windshield, high windshield, and max windshield. I don't know how much icing we have. All right, and we're still not hearing the ATIS. I'm gonna turn monitoring on and off again. Let me flip this maybe. Guess we could try ATIS up here, like 134.575. Switch over temporarily. See if it. Yep, it is working.
Altimeter 2957.
Let's switch back and let's try COM 2. 134.575. It worked on COM 1. It looks like it's just not going to work on COM 2. So I'll just use COM 1 for now. It could be plane specific.
Altimeter 2957. Landing and departing runway 20. Bird activity in vicinity of airport. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Kilo.
Alright, that's good enough for now. We'll just get... We have parts of Kilo. We'll just go back to the main frequency so we don't miss them. Alright, we're almost at 9,000 feet. 9,000. Altimeter's set. Information Kilo, landing runway 20, which is what we had. We had 20 over here, so it's still landing the same runway, which is good. But we don't yet have an approach. If we get an approach...
323. Descend and maintain 4,000.
There's an LNAV. Descend and maintain 4,000, exit jet 323. All right, 4,000, vertical speed that down. 300 knots, 3 times 5, 1,500 feet per minute. We'll go 16 because I feel like we're still a little higher than we should be. Like we can see our VNAV profiles below us still right here, just because of the restrictions I put in earlier. So it's expecting us to be quite a bit lower than we are right now. I'll just kind of space shuttle it down again. We'll do 2,000 feet per minute. ATC did say bird activity, yeah, based on, for the airport. So that was the ATIS. The ATIS recording for Gary said bird activity. Yeah, it's pretty cool to hear it. All right, so runway 20, the only approach we have is a LNAV plus V. Yeah, I don't see any other 20 except for the visual. So we'll set it for LNAV plus V. Because I have the integration with the G3000, when I go to choose a transition, I can turn the chart preview on, which is really nice. It'll bring the chart up.
ExitJet 323. Contact Chicago approach 133.1.
Looks like Niles or Geblo will be ours. Keblo? I'm just going to load that one. Say again for ExecJet 323.
ExitJet 323. Contact Chicago approach 133.1.
133. Oops. 133.1 ExitJet 323. What'd they say? Chicago approach. If you ever forget like I do, just go here and look at the bottom right here. It says Chicago Terminal Radar Approach Control. So we can call them Chicago Approach. Chicago Approach, ExitJet 323, 5,000 feet descending, 4,000. I don't know why I say feet. No need to say feet.
ExitJet 323, verify information Lima.
Oh. We have information Kilo, ExitJet 323.
ExitJet 323, Chicago approach, altimeter 2957, expect the visual approach runway 20.
All right, 2957, expect runway 20 visual approach, ExitJet 323. Nice, it accepted all that.
ExitJet 323, turn right, heading 080, descend and maintain 3,000, vectors for the approach. Expect further clearance in about 41 miles.
All right, turn right, heading 080, descend and maintain 3,000, ExitJet 323. All right, vertical speed again. All right, I'm gonna switch auto throttle over to manual, and I'm gonna pull our speed down. Okay, yep, manual. Pull our speed down to like 200 for now. Just to give myself a little more time. Zero 80 is direct Pueblo. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, maybe a little more to the left, but wind is a thing, I guess. Yeah, so we're going to make this right-hand turn all the way around for runway 20. So they said, that was kind of interesting. They said that information Lima was current, which is right after Kilo, right? K and then L, right? Kilo, and then Lima would be next. When I got it, it was Kilo. Altimeter was 2957. It must have just updated or something because he said Lima is current. I told him I had Kilo, and he replied with the altimeter setting, which was different, 2957. Oh, wait, no, that's the same. Sorry, Kilo was 2957, but I told him I had Kilo, not Lima, and then he gave me the altimeter again. But it just happened to be the same. All right, we just froze for a minute, but we're back. At least the sim did. Classic. Probably turned multiplayer off. Yes, it did. All right, we're at 200 knots. We're on the heading they gave us, which is 080. Sorry, Sandman, I just saw your message. Said, yeah, real world flying. Your wife's dad flying the Cessna for 30 years. That's awesome if you're still flying. Or if her dad is still flying after 30 years, that's awesome. X-Corpo over on Twitch says, I'm a couple hours away from hitting 1,000 in the sim. I just barely hit 1,000 in my logbook in the sim. I think the reason is, as much as I fly, like I'm mostly doing short flights and I'm on the ground so long. So I'll be on the ground as long as I am in the air sometimes. Or maybe like 50% of the time I'm in the air, instead of like being on the ground for an hour and then doing like a 6-hour or 7-hour flight. Yeah, it's vectoring us for the visual, yep. Yeah, we're in a little, it might be a little tight, but we'll see. Because that's a more than a 90-degree turn, so I wish we'll see what happens. They might turn us left a little and then right to swing us around. But yeah, if we want to clean up the map when we have a procedure like this already, we can go and activate the approach under procedures and do vectors to final. That'll just draw one long line for us. And then just to make sure, I didn't do this last time, but I should probably activate runway 20 as the active leg, just in case I want to use nav mode to line up with it. Because we might not fly out to that exact waypoint and it might not auto sequence us. So I'm just going to activate that leg that goes to the runway. But I'm not going to use autopilot after that point anyway. Emergency landing song. So something that BeyondATC does not do yet, it is in their roadmap, it's on their list, is emergencies. That's something we can currently only do with say intentions. Yeah, this would be a horrible time for an emergency. I mean, we're just so low to the ground. All right, still at 200 knots. And let's see, they're vectoring us for final for 20, so go ahead and check the airport chart. We're gonna land on 20, it's a short runway, but that 3,600 feet's good for us. Looks like we'll wanna turn off to the left, I guess. Most of the hangars are here on the north side. The west ramp is right here. We'll see what they give us. We could also see if there are any parking lots in the database too. So if we zoom all the way in, sometimes with Navigraph we can see certain parking spots. Now it just shows the FBO, west ramp, and the hangars here on Echo. All right, and then we'll get tower at some point, 25.6. I'll just put that in advance, 256. Whoops, I switched to it. So 125.6. After that, ground's on 0.9er, 121.9er. And it's Gary Tower, Gary Ground is what I need to call it. At the FBO. Is there an FBO shown on here? I just see west ramp. Was it on the Navigraph chart? Oh, right here, yeah, you're right. There's two FBOs here. Yep, one here and here, so yeah, we'd go to one of these. I don't see anything that says GA parking. But if this was like our home airport and we had a hangar here or something, like say over here, there's some GA hangars. This looks like a way bigger one. But like maybe there's some smaller hangar buildings like these here, maybe. There could be a couple options. But yeah, generally FBO, GA parking, transient parking, any of those labels. How did I see what parking spots? I don't know how to do it without Navigraph, but they don't really have it. This is like the official airport chart, the Jeppesen chart, so it only really calls out the ramps here and the terminal. It doesn't even call out the two FBOs that it seems to have. And then if we go to the Navigraph map and zoom in far enough, it'll show taxiways, parking spots and stuff. So it doesn't have any specific ramps called out by number or anything, but it does show the two FBO positions here. So I'm not sure, like, if they ask us which ramp we want, I don't really know how to reply. I'm just going to tell them anywhere and then just follow their taxiway instructions. We'll just see where they put us. It's a hot air balloon. Oh, it's like a paraglider or something. There's a dude paragliding. I think. It looks like a human. Mike says little nav map has the best maps for parking. He uses it just for parking. I'm trying so hard not to add yet another program into my collection of programs. Little nav map is great. Like, I've only used it for flight planning, but it's really nice. Parachute. Oh yeah, it could be somebody parachuting. Like, are they skydiving over there? There's just one person skydiving, maybe. Gonna need some new underwear. We were a bit close. All right, looks like there's the airport, and 20 will be like this direction. We're gonna listen for our instructions for descent and for vectors. Airport elevation is 600 feet. So we'll expect them to bring us down to 2,000 or 1,600, something like that. We'll want to be down about, I guess 2,100 is pretty good, because this is pretty fast. Give it like 1,500 feet AGL. Might need to do a go around, do it. Unless you're me and you're just, your excuse is you don't want to make people wait, then you just dive and drive. Last stream, you had a paraglider right next to the runway on takeoff. Those actually have collision too, so it's like the traffic in sight, I think is the name of the add-on.
ExitJet 323, turn right, heading 110.
Turn right, heading 110, ExitJet 323. All right, 110.
ExitJet 323, turn right, heading 115, descend and maintain 2000.
Turn right, heading 115, descend and maintain 2,000, ExitJet ExitJet 323. Nice, it got it with the correction. All right, I'm slowing us down to 170 knots. Let's do 165. 800 feet per minute. Let's do a little more. Going down to 2,000 feet, and then he's got us on a 115 heading. And because it's because we have the approach in already, we're getting the LNAV component of the approach. It's an LNAV plus V, so it's got lateral guidance to line us up with the runway, kind of like VOR precision to the runway. Like, it's not great. It's not like a localizer precision, but it's good. And then plus V means that the Garmin is going to calculate our glide path for us. It's advisory glide path down to the runway. So we can use it if we want, but just only if we have a visual of the runway. We're responsible for all of our own visuals on that. It's not an official glide path down to the runway. The water is so still. Got to take some screenshots, of course. Yeah, Sim Update 15 got delayed again. Yeah. It's a bummer. This just Envision Jet collides with paraglider. Attention all aircraft, we've had an accident. 5 miles to the east of the field. Paraglider down. Vision Jet now paragliding. It's popped its cap system. 2 parachutes in the air. Was 1 parachute, now there are 2 parachutes. Did I leave the virtual airport?
ExitJet 323,
okay,
turn right, heading 185, descend and maintain 1000.
Turn right, heading 185 and descend and maintain 1000, ExitJet 323. 185, 1000. There's 185.
ExitJet 323,
1000.
airport is at your 2 o'clock 5 miles. Report the field in sight.
Oh yeah, it's right in front of us. We have the field in sight, ExitJet 323.
ExitJet 323, cleared visual approach runway 20.
Cleared visual 20, ExitJet 323.
ExitJet 323, contact Gary Tower 125.6.
We are way too close. Over to tower 125.6, ExitJet 323. Turn off autopilot. Gary Tower, ExitJet 323, short final runway 20 with information, Lima. Alright, auto throttle off.
ExitJet 323, Gary Tower, wind calm, runway 20 cleared to land.
Runway 20 clear to land, ExitJet 323. Alright, this is a short runway. Full flaps, gear down, 3 greens.
500.
And I can use that advisory glide slope a little. It feels like we're a little high, but I need to slow down. So pitching the nose up, pulling the power out. And we're expecting to turn off to the left. All right, one red on the there's Pappies on the right. Definitely a little bumpy. Oh, this runway's closed. Got X's all over it. That was a little hard. Last one was 50 feet per minute. This is almost 200.
ExitJet tree 23. Exit left at Delta.
Exit left at Delta. ExitJet 323. It's actually Bravo. So not great information here for the taxiing. Runway is closed, yeah. Hey, they told us to land here. Pappies. I saw them on the right as we were coming in. All right, flaps are up. Sensitivity, like on the yoke, you mean? I used to have it set pretty low, like pretty insensitive, so it didn't jerk around as much. But I was flying, was it the Tomahawk? No, it was the PC-12.
Contact ground 121.
They recommended setting it to neutral. 121.9 ExitJet 323. Yeah, so I do have it neutral right now. Did they say that was okay? 121.9. All right. All right, let's get the pitot heat off. Yeah, I have it linear right now, and I normally don't, but I set it that way because, yeah, I think the Pilatus PC-12 manual I was reading through, and they said that they modeled it, so you have to set your controls to linear if you want it to feel realistic. So when I was flying that on Friday, I did that, and yeah, I haven't changed it back, so it is definitely a little shakier than it would normally be. All right, flaps are up, anti-ice is off, landing lights are on. We can turn the strobe light off. Gary ground, ExitJet 323 is clear of runway 20 at Bravo 2. Request taxi to parking.
ExitJet 323, welcome to Gary/Chicago Airport. Say parking or advise if need assignment.
Parking at the FBO or General Aviation. ExitJet 323.
ExitJet 323, say again ramp number.
Any ramp is fine, ExitJet 323. I don't know the gate, no.
ExitJet 323, ramp 19 or taxi via Delta. Hold short runway 12.
All right, ramp 19, taxi via Delta, hold short runway 12, ExitJet 319. Correction, ExitJet 323. Where am I getting 319 from? All right, so they said Delta, hold short, runway 12. So it looks like they probably mean either Bravo or Charlie. So we're going to take Charlie and we'll hold short, runway 12 at Charlie. It just goes more towards where those terminals and stuff are, so see how it goes. Steve says normally Pappies are on the left, so if you see the X on the runway probably means you landed from the wrong end. Well, this is runway 20. That's where they told us to land. Actually, let me see I am curious where they are now, though. Because it's weird they'd have a closed runway and active Pappy lights. Active Pappies. So we came in, obviously, from over the water. And here are all the X's, even though they cleared us to land on 20. There's the windsock. And these Pappies, I saw them on the right. Here's 20. Right here. These are the ones I saw. Right here on the right side. So I don't think they're for any other runway. Yeah, here they are on the right. Wonder what does it say here? Yeah, runway 20, Pappy. This says Pappy's left here. Runway 2 and 20, Pappy's left. And then Pappy's left. Yeah. It's just a data thing. It's kind of fun to land on the just land on the inactive runway though. Breaking the law, you know? Flight Sim 2020 feature or 2024 feature. It would be cool if they suddenly had like really accurate taxiway data, and then BeyondATC would be using that, and it could just be accurate everywhere. All the accurate taxiway signage and stuff too would be really cool. Your avionics are dead. You're gonna eyeball it. Nice. I want to see if it gives me the hold short. I see Gallant Comics coming in right now. Maybe I can hold short and then call him, or before they call me. Everybody's coming in on different runways too. Did it assign? Are you guys using BATC? Did you just pick different runways? It looks like 2-0 is maybe the worst one. Like the wind's blowing against 2-0, right? Yeah, it's blowing against it. So 2 is, I guess, the best. Oh, no, sorry, it is blowing towards 2-0. No, 2-0 was right. Yeah, sorry, the water is this direction. So yeah, 2-0 is good. Extreme realism texture pack. Oh, in-game gave ILS 3-0. I mean, at least it knows, I guess, that the other runway is inactive. Maybe. Seems like maybe it knows that. Looks like bait. I can't tell where Raccoon's coming either. Coming at. Gary Tower, ExecJet 323 holding short runway 12, ready to cross.
ExecJet Tree 23, cross runway 12 at Delta. Continue taxi via Delta.
Cross runway 12 at Delta and continue taxi via Delta. ExecJet 323. Sorry, Comic. I didn't catch your landing. And I'm crossing right in front of you. This is fine. It feels so good whenever you have accurate taxi information. Oh, X-Corpo's right here. What's up, dude? Thanks for watching on Twitch. I'm primarily on YouTube, so it's really nice to when somebody's on Twitch. I have to get used to looking at both chats. Multi-streaming is kind of weird. Twitch is so good for streaming, though. It's just like outside of the video quality, which is way worse. It's just really nice compared, like just the chat, the emotes, the whole like, I don't know, the vibe of Twitch. I guess it's just different. Like, I wish YouTube didn't make it so you had to go like 6 months, then 12 months for a different badge. Like you can do one every month on Twitch, I think, which is really nice. So many more emotes. What's up, Andy? I'm not sure what RAM number I'm at, Speedy. We're not like parking at a gate, so a little bit different. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the ramp, like what the ramp numbers are, so it's not. Maybe if we had like custom airport scenery or something, we'd be able to tell. If they're like written on the ground, I don't know. Outside of just chatting, yeah, that's a little bit different. It's an interesting type of gaming in that that category for sure. All right, Raccoon. Land on this really odd looking runway that's blurry. I don't know why it's so blurry for me. That whole section is so blurry. All right, Ian. Thanks for hanging out, dude. Glad it was a little bit helpful for you. Beautiful. Is that tire on the center line? Careful. You don't want to get accused of cheating. Very nice. Yeah, mine was rough that time. My first landing was great. I think it was pretty good. 50 feet per minute was really nice. This one was like almost 200 feet per minute. Did not feel great. All right, Control Shift E. Let's get more on the logbook. 53 minutes. Feels good. I'm going to call it a night once we're done here. Watch a few more landings. We can take some pictures. Call it a night. I'm really glad that everybody... I mean, I used BeyondATC a few times to like help beta test, did a flight here and there. I wasn't using it a ton. But it's just awesome that it's out already and everybody can use it. It's great. TBM 930, Lake Pilot action. Can you be in the group photo? Yeah. Come and land. You're on your way in, right? It says you're at 1,100 feet still. That's good. Don't touch that center line. Beautiful. Little bit in the fast lane, just like we like it. TBM 930 is down. Oh, Stigmatism's coming in the Vision Jet as well. Still at 5,000 feet, though. Drew, are you frozen? What's happening up there? You're at exactly 1111 feet and not moving. Maybe it's me having multiplayer issues again. Or Coast Guard helicopter or something up there. Flying towards what looks like a little tiny plane. Or like a drone. I don't know what that is. Traffic in sight adds so much random stuff. Okay, you're at 800 feet now. Nice. Lots of birds in the vicinity. X-Corpo said my landing is okay. Knocked my pillows around. Oh, you're in the FSR 500. Yeah, that is... I think it's my favorite GA plane. The Comanche is really good, but I need something faster, so that's why I mostly fly the FSR 500 myself. I love it. I think it's underrated, or like not enough people know about it. Like I see it mentioned on like Reddit when people ask for planes to fly and stuff, but not as often as I want to. It's so good. And the Sting S4 is also made by FS Reborn, and it's incredible. It has a working parachute in the Sting S4. It's a much smaller, like 2-seater trainer, but it's also got the wear and tear and everything on it. Oh, wheels are down. May have almost flipped, but it still counts. He's in. Dr. Horrible PhD is over here. I think he's at a different airport, actually. Yeah, I think that's the rest from our group, it looks like. Stigmatism's looks like he landed and is either going around or he's gonna do some acrobatics. Call it a firm landing, yes. The firmest of landings. Very very strong landing. I'm so bad at taking group pictures. Like for the thumbnails for these streams, whenever we're doing group flights, I want to use group ones. But it's so hard to take a good group photo. It just ends up looking like just a clump of planes, you know? I mean, which is what you want, but it's not like... Even when we line up correctly, it's really hard to take a good group photo. And like the terrain around here is not really impressive or anything either. It's just all so flat. Some hills that way. Look at all these Vision Jets. Vision Jet meetup. Success. I feel like it's almost like being a wedding photographer or something. Like, if you've ever tried to take a group photo, it's like an art form. Like if you got like 30 people in a photo, it's so hard to even get them fit in the frame and not look awkward. I think it's like the same thing with planes. Like, how do we do this? Leave the DC-6 out? Why? It looks so good. Look at this thing. It's definitely the shiniest of us. Oh no, one disappeared. Oh, they're back. Yeah, it's really hard to take group shots. I don't know how people get such good group shot screenshots. It is a talent. We should have Raccoon take it for us. The 3-time based Raccoon, the 3-time winner. You guys know Dr. Disrespect is the, he calls himself the 2-time. Well, we got the 3-time screenshot champion in our chat. All right, dudes. I'm going to call it a night. That was really fun. Dude, BeyondATC is great. I'm going to probably go back and forth between like just keeping up on the latest and greatest with both BATC and Say Intentions. It is nice. It's kind of nice not having the chatter and stuff, but at the same time I miss it, if that makes sense. Like when I'm trying to explain stuff, like I do turn it off from time to time in Say Intentions, but it's definitely weird hearing nothing else on the frequency. But maybe we'll have once we have the AI traffic in, it's going to feel so much more, just so much more busy. And it's going to be sequencing people once they do that work. Like who knows if it'll be like end of the year or longer, but it's going to be really good. We went from 0 good ATC options. Well, I think FS HUD was really good. It still is really good. But ones that you could talk to, FS HUD is not one of those. And the ones that you could talk to were not good, I don't think. Pilot ATC, Pro ATC, neither one of those worked for me, and I tried them multiple times. It just wasn't good enough in my opinion, and now we have 2 extremely modern ATCs, so yeah, it's pretty amazing. Hope you guys got a little bit of info. You saw me mess up my descent. What was it, both times? Not doing my descent early enough. I think it would be nice if ATC called for us to start our descent, especially if we're on a star. And maybe it's because those are not mandatory altitude restrictions on those stars. Maybe it's because they're expect altitudes, like expect 10,000. Yeah, I would like it if they called for us to descend before. Like, it seems like now you really have to tell them you're ready to descend, otherwise it'll be way too late. All right, guys, thanks so much for flying along. It was fun as always. On Thursday, I'll do our regularly scheduled marketplace stream. I also do not have any plans this weekend, so we will do the normal scenic group flight on Saturday. And, I might throw in another stream Wednesday or Friday if I'm feeling like doing more IFR stuff. But, yeah, it was super fun. Thanks for joining. Oh, Blue Ninja, you're about to land. Wait, where are you? I'll try to get the camera on you if I can find you before I close it out. Oh, there you are. Oh, he's coming in for his second attempt. All right, I'll leave you with Blue Ninja and his landing and a song, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. As usual, I'll throw in the Discord link. If you guys want to hang out in Discord in between the streams, feel free to join up. We chat. We post pictures of stuff. We post YouTube videos, blah, blah, blah. If you want to hop on, feel free. If not, no big deal. Maybe we'll see you in the next stream. All right, you guys, have a good rest of your Tuesday night, and I'll see you guys on Thursday for the Marketplace stream. We're going to buy some stuff from the Marketplace. Hopefully there's some good stuff and try it out. Even if there's some crappy stuff, we're going to try it out. So hope to see you guys then. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. And again, thanks so much to Mike for the $10 super chat. Raccoon, thanks for the $5 super chat earlier. And thanks for the follows and the subs. Follows over on Twitch as well. Appreciate that. All right, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. See ya. I said the ATC thing. See ya. Look, I'm a pro ATC person. See ya. Faster. Speed it up. Let's go, Ninja. We believe in you. Don't touch the center line, though. If it's too good, I'm going to get jealous, and I don't want to go to bed feeling jealous. Just make it kind of good. Yeah, after hours activated. Just kidding, we're not done. Let's go 10 more hours. Ah! I'm gonna crack a few beers. Let's go. Ah, nice and stable. Looking good. Along the runway. Put it down. Idle. Idle. You got it. Yes. Nice little flare. Nice little flare. Little bounce. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, we're at the end of the runway. He's doing a go-around. Good call on the go-around, though. Good call on the go-around. Oh, no, he's given up. It's over. It's over. All right, guys, have a good one. See you on Discord. See you on Thursday.